Morning. There we go. Hello, hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Morning.
Good morning, Norma. And hi, Christina.
Good morning.
Nice to see you. It's nice when I see people sometimes online, sometimes in person. I got to see Norma in person the other day. It reminds me people are people. And then Moni, you've been in class too. Sometimes it feels so different. It's like, I know you, but I'm not sure I know you because I've only seen you online and then suddenly you're a real human. So, hi, Moni. Hi.
Hey
Someone
there.
else is coming in. Moni also showed up the other day and I was like, okay, I know you, but that was fun. All right. Here we go. There's Monica. I love, by the way, Moni, the little hedgehog that you did.
Oh,
So
I get started and I can't stop.
let me show you guys what I'm talking about while I wait for everyone else to show up. This is a little, because you guys, you know how we did a little bit of image tracing here in this class too last week? Well, this is something I did in the Illustrator class. I showed them, I hadn't done image tracing yet with them, and I showed them yesterday how to do it and how you can trace with many different colors and stuff. And so this is Moni. She just scanned in or photographed, had a photo of a little hedgehog, and then just through, did you do this through the tracing or through the tracing and then the recoloring?
The tracing and then recoloring. Yeah.
Tracing and recoloring. It's so cute. I love it. I love it when you guys do things with what you learn, right? So yeah, that's cool. And then this isn't this class, so I'm going to switch to the other class, but here we go. Here's the digital design techniques. And so this is where we were. There's two people who are, oh my goodness, one of Cheyenne is right now in Serbia. Oh, I'm so jealous. And Croatia, she for her job. So she's going to try to pop in if she can, depending on the time frame, but she probably won't. Anyway, so this is our, oh, maybe she's not there yet because this is Cheyenne. I thought she was in. Hey, Cheyenne, I thought you were going to be in Serbia or Croatia.
That I leave on Monday, so I won't be here
next week you won't be here. Okay, I was going, oh, Cheyenne's up in Serbia next week.
I know, yeah.
You're in boring old Santa Barbara still, huh? Okay. Place most people in the world want to come to, so there, no complaints about living here. I was just sharing the work from last week, and what I'm going to say here. So remember that we talked about her logo last week, you guys. The flower that she was trying to put in there. So then she reworked it, and then now this is and I saw this one on your website that you sent me. So this is what you put in there. But you mentioned something about wanting to add some more dimension, and then like the S or the weaving through the rows and stuff like that. So I'm assuming this is the one you mean, like weaving.
Yeah, I like.
When you said more dimension on I don't see where you mentioned dimension.
I mean, I like how the rose is like layered. The one on the right, the S is behind it.
Yeah, I like that too.
But I sent you the link to the Pinterest that I really liked.
Oh,
it's kind of a tutorial, but it doesn't really say how to do it. But you
I
can
didn't see that.
Make it, but I still don't know how to do it.
Oh, okay.
So through it, but I love this logo.
Okay. Got it. I can show you how to do that.
Cool.
Got it. Okay. I see. I hadn't seen your link. I had seen your post, but not the link. So that makes sense. Yeah. In fact, I think in yesterday's class, I showed, let me go back to our Pinterest, right? Oh, I think it opened in a different one here. Yeah. Let me be clear that in this example, these are two very clean lines to do it with, which is fine, meaning it works just fine. In this case, when you cut something through, you know, there's a whole bunch of other complications, many lines. So at most you might like you take a little bit out of this and to see a bit of the rose through. But if you do that, then you'll have to take this too. Like everywhere that the rose is would have to come up front, or and then this whole thing would hide behind, or how, you know what I'm trying to say? I'm not sure. I can see in the S and the S and the and how that would work. I'm not too sure how it would work here.
We don't have
What's
to
that?
really see the rows. If it's easier just to show like the two letters.
Yeah, so basically it's cutting here. And I think, let me, did I already share my Illustrator with you guys? No, let me share my my whole Illustrator. And here we go. I believe that's all I need to share, but let me put this one in the back. So that I'm sharing one area of my screen. I have too many areas of my screen and it becomes really hard to share. So let me make that a bit smaller. Okay, so when they all overlap, it's a bit easier. So let me head and make a new file really quickly. So this is Illustrator, you guys. And I think let me make any old S. I'm gonna give this a 400, not too much, well, maybe not, for an S, 400 points S, right? And this is not a fun or funky S, but still. And then I'm gonna just copy that and make that into was it, I don't know, and ampersand. Okay, so these are nowhere near as fancy as the letters that you found, right? But imagine that this was it. Let me make this be a little bit bigger here. If you, which one, this one's in the back right now, the S is in, this one's in the front, not that you can tell, maybe I made it too bad. It's probably easier with skinny fonts and not, do we have light? That's a light one. Okay, so let me just turn them into lights. So say that, and again, it depends on some images it works, some images it doesn't, but if you wanted to make something break up, you would have to first outline them, right? So I'm gonna object, type, create outlines, and type create outlines. Okay, so now that there's shapes, right? If I want to cut a piece of this, I go over to the knife, and here they only have the scissors. I'm gonna have to go up to change my Essentials Classic. In the Essentials Classic, there's also the knife. Actually, there's the eraser too. Maybe the eraser would work. And the eraser is a tool that can be changed in size to make it bigger or smaller. And so then I can go over here and just erase a piece of that, right? Erase a piece of that, erase a piece of that. Or if I'm selecting this one, then I can erase a piece of that. So I'm just showing you any old, now, if these guys are, you know, overlapped in the right way, so let me go undo, 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 undo. So say that I put these, I don't know, I'm guessing here. Obviously you need to plan it out a little bit. I'm just gonna put this over that to make it look like it works. So then when I grab the eraser here, if I were to, if I want the S to come up above, that I would have to erase a little bit of the and there you go. Right, so that it, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then you do that, and you know, you would do it carefully and not just, but that's the idea. Right.
Thank you.
And this is the other way around. I did it opposite. It's not interlacing. Right now I would have to go and select my S and then eliminate a little bit from, where's my eraser again? And it's cleaner than the eraser would be if you use the knife or the scissors, where you can get a really clean line. But this is just to show the effect. Okay, so there's three tools. There's the scissors and the erasers and the knife, and they work a little bit differently. You might want to test and see which one works best for you. If you do a knife, you cut like that, you make a line, which then but now it's grouped. So now I have to ungroup it. When you cut like that, it turns into a group. And then you kind of cut it. So you see what I mean? You didn't, and so that's a cleaner. And then so that's a knife. So you guys, everyone, if you want to grab something and try out these knives and cut, and then I've shown you how to join things, but this would be, and then the scissors is, it goes from anchor to anchor. So I can click on this anchor and then this anchor, like go through. That was an endpoint of a path. Okay, so maybe I'll do. Okay, let me put this up here and try to use the scissors on that one. So if I go, it's not an endpoint. Why is it doing that to me? Okay, I think because I'm putting it on an anchor and it's considering it an endpoint. So I did cut it there, see, but it didn't do what I wanted. So let me try again. So it's giving little cuts and pieces. I'm not sure why the scissors isn't. It's like when I'm, the scissors are supposed to be able to keep going, and for some reason in this case it doesn't keep going. It's like wherever you click it cuts, but I'm not sure right now how this was going to work in this situation. So but the knife, so the knife is the one that I use the most whenever I do this kind of stuff, because it lets you cut and then separate it without it disappearing in case you're not ready for it to disappear yet. And
Okay.
you can make any kind of cut. So maybe I'm going to do this kind of cut. So that's a knife cut, right? And then as long as I ungroup it, then I got this, this is one piece. Oh. I didn't ungroup it yet. I grouped. For some reason, there you go. So you can get like little curvy shit, you know, like you can do whatever you want. It doesn't need to be a straight line. You can give it, these are bad shapes for the knives in the sense that you would normally have like something, let me just, here we go, there's that. And then with a knife, you could just do a cut like that, right? Which you draw it, so to say.
Mm.
And then that allows you to, let me ungroup that. Linda N. Right? So that is something you can do with a knife. So I find it to be the one that's the most graceful of the tools, because you can cut wherever you want and make whatever shape you want out of it. Right? So all I do is I drew the knife down and then you ungroup them because they and separate. So this is, I mean, this in itself, there you go, already could be a logo, right? It's a mini a block with a knife cut through it, and there you go, you have a shape that could potentially be what some people could call a logo if it kind of worked for that company, right? So anyway, if you guys want to, since we're doing this, and it is a good technique if you want to just try with a letter or a word or something, just a shape like I did with the like I did over there. If you want to try to, I'm just thinking how first, if you put this on that and then you maybe attach that, and next thing you know, you could have like, you know, this doesn't work with that, but anyway, you know what I'm trying to say? There you go. I just made two little shapes. I'm not trying to make a logo. I don't know why I even typed the letter M, but I'm just showing you how in 2 seconds, something that was nothing can turn into a shape or a design with a combination of things. And yeah, so knowing the knife is really cool. So hopefully you all tried something with a knife and then you put it in the Pinterest to see, in the Padlet, now that you're showing in the Padlet to show me something done with a knife. Okay. So I'm just going to call this one knife just to save it, and let's keep going. There you go. Yeah, cool. Sometimes questions I just answer the question, but others it's talking about a tool that could be really useful. I wanted to show that. So awesome. Back to the Padlet. Nope, not the Padlet. Where was the Padlet?
That was really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank Cheyenne for, that's why I love questions and I love people having things to show. Where's my Padlet? Oh, it was on the same one. There we go. All right, so there you go. So maybe you can play around a little bit with this. And yeah, thanks for that link. Yeah, that was a great way of showing me what you wanted. Otherwise, I might have like fumbled not knowing what you meant. But in this case, as I said, this might be a bit of a complicated thing because what do you show through, right? Anyway. What else? More of the attempts of the logo and scanning in. So that's great. It looks like that's it for new things. Everyone just went with that logo. All right. So work with it, you guys. And the other classes, people are just creating new things. I want you guys to create some new things. Okay. Today we are going to start, and I looked at the rosters to make sure there's only one person right now overlapping from the fall class, and that's Monica. So I try to always make things that are new and different, but given how few, sometimes there's like 5 people overlapping or 10 people overlapping. So I want to work with the coffee images to create a product. And so, you know, the ones I mean, Monica, so you've already created with the coffee ones, but can you, we can all create different products, and can you imagine using them in a different way than you've used them before? Because the same image can garner so many different ways of working. And let me go over to Bridge and show you what I'm talking about. Oh, I didn't have Bridge open. Let me stop my share and reset with the things that I want to share. All right.
Are you teaching any summer courses, Diana?
Yes, in fact, I'm doing Photoshop and digital design techniques. I had proposed Illustrator instead, and she said she would change it, but she didn't, only because I thought that might be a better choice for the summer, but I noticed when I went yesterday that to the courses that it's still set up with. Yeah, so let me hold on. Okay, I got the Bridge open now. Share my screen, and I'm going to share that one and that one and that one and that one and that one. It's a lot of windows in a row. Okay. Cool. And then since you asked, and here I had this because I searched it the other day. Here's what I'm teaching in the summer, and it's the three of the MAT classes: intro, level 1, and level 2. By the way, which I highly recommend. A lot of the people who are taking these higher level classes, if you still have any questions about file management, when you're working into all these like project-based material, you need to be able to really handle complex file sets and folders and finding your files and things like that. And I do a lot of that conversation in Mac level 1, but also, you know, the basic setups of your computer, the cloud, the iCloud, all of that kind of stuff, backups and whatnot. So Living the iLife is where I touch about the Photos app, the one that comes on the computer, on the Mac, on the phones, on the Apple devices. There's a Photos app and everything it can do, which is pretty amazing. I mean, short of layering and stuff like that, it can do a lot of good stuff. And with video too, you can edit some video. And then digital design techniques in Photoshop. And so these are the ones I'm teaching, and they will be, I guess, digital techniques is in the morning, 9 to 11 on a Wednesday. And Photoshop is in the morning, 9 to 12 on a Friday. And for quite a bit of, they're all online. Quite a bit of this time I'm going to be away. I'm going to be in Argentina, but I'll teach from there like I did last summer. So there you go. Those are the classes. I'm going to be sending email, but basically they start mid-June-ish and they go through the first week of August. Okay, 8 weeks. And this one, Photoshop, is 6 weeks. There we go. All right. Where's my Bridge? Here we go. Bridge. Illustrator class files. Okay, sorry, digital class file. Okay, so here's, I've been teaching you a lot of techniques, a lot of ideas, a lot of different possibilities. And I want us to create, if you want, from start to finish, a whole piece now. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you've looked at the photos, but I always put this one in here because I think it's such a perfect example of, I don't know if you heard this story a few years ago. Let me just make it bigger here because if I share it, you don't see it. A few years ago, this kid got bullied. He didn't have the money. It was like, come to school with your college or your football team or your school. I don't know much about teams here. It's basically, this is University of Tennessee, and he was supposed to go to school with like clothes from that, and he didn't have it. So he drew a big old U and T on a piece of paper, right? And he wore that, and there was really a lot of backlash, and he got bullied a lot from his kids. You're poor, you don't have the stuff, right? And so something that the teacher said or did, so he just drew it on a piece of paper and pinned it to his t-shirt. And so people at the University of Tennessee got a hold of that story. And so they used his drawing, right, to make a logo out of it, dot tracing, right, and put it on, and over here, the little wording, I can't make it any bigger without opening it. So, and this says university, it says right there in tiny OF for UF, and then over here it says Tennessee, right? So the kid really did what he could, and it did a great job. They picked it up exactly right, slapped it on so many of their products, made a ton of money, gave him a scholarship to go to university, and it was kind of one of those feel-good stories at the end. But anyway, that was a, we talk about a napkin scratch that you photograph and you scan in. That's as simple as that. That's all they did. So I like that story. Anyway, talking about being able to use just about anything as input for your content. So we have a series of photos here. 1, 2, 3, and 4 photos, which have to do with, coffee. And this is a little bit of text about this woman is the owner of this little coffee shop. If Monica, you want to choose something else, I do have some other images like of travel. You could use that one and this one here. Stop. That one and this one, and make something like a travel brochure, postcard, or something like that. Well, Cheyenne knows a lot about that. Or here's an example of someone just took this photo once and then they came up with this, right? So you can use any other of the photos, but my goal right now is for us to create a marketing piece of some kind. And so last time we created a postcard, we can create a brochure, we can create a banner for a website. I'm just kind of going to go a little bit again with a postcard, only because it helps me bring in a couple different images, create some kind of a grid or a pattern, and also teach you about inserting text and formatting text. And most importantly, I want to finish the piece, right? Oh, and then for example, this one here has for this photo, there's another piece of text here, which is like and it's here's the text for this photo, which was like a flyer for a photography camp, right? So it's like, take advantage of the light, and it's teaching you how to do photography. And you can use that in one of the photos of this guy being a photographer. So you can use a variety of what's in here, of the different pieces of art that we have, to create a piece. We're going to go in and create a little mini logo. Meaning a simple logo. I don't need us to take, hours, just a logo that has to do with our business. We're going to put in some photos and a bit of text. And if you want to invent the text and use another photo, you're welcome to. Today, I want to make sure also that we get to the end of what it takes to package that piece, put it in a format that works for your printer. What kind of format will that printer need? is it going to go also on screen? Is it going to go to your website? Like work the whole like A to Z, the whole process of this photo, of this image, of whatever product we're going to make. Okay. So do you guys want to write maybe in the chat or raise your hands and tell me what product you'd like to create? I mean, last time I had everyone create the same one, but I'm welcome to having people who have a specific plan for it to have a different idea. I'll go ahead and be boring as ever and make it into a postcard. You can have it be a calendar, you can have it be a flyer, you can have it be a blog about your coffee company, you can have it whatever. We're just going to do it if that's so, we'll make a mock-up of that blog in Photoshop, right? And you can just put Lorem Ipsum text. It doesn't need to be, you don't need to write the blog. So go to the chat and tell me what product you'd might, and you can change your mind. You can start creating one and go, oh, I think it would be better if I do something else. I like that idea better, but go to the chat and write to me. Most of us assume that we'll be using this set of photos. What kind of product you would want to make, marketing kind of product. Maybe it's a bag that holds the coffee that this person roasts. I don't know. Maybe it's a mug that this coffee roaster sells. Postcards, business cards. We want to do something a bit more than a business card. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. Oh, finally. Okay. Cheyenne saying a one-page flyer. Okay. And the reason I'm asking you to think about this now is because we're about to create the document, and you have to create the document with knowledge of what the final product will be. Yes, you can adapt and modify later, but we want to start with the right size, and I want to show you a little bit how to do some research for that product. Anyone? Okay, a bus ad, says Christina. All right, because it can be on the side of, on the whole side, on the back, postcard or brochure. Okay, cool. And I'm going to show you how to find templates or sizings or things. Saul, who's missing here? Monica, Linda. Okay, brochure or postcard, says the other Monica. Well, you guys must be twins. One says Monica postcard or brochure, and there is a brochure or postcard. So there's something going on there. Norma said a postcard. Okay, so I'm waiting for maybe just Linda at this point. And Christina said bus. Okay. And Saul? All right. Go ahead and, great. Oh, you copied each other. Good idea. Okay, so based on what you're going to do, the first thing you need to know, of course, is what's the right template, the right way, the right shape of how to create this material. Oh, here comes Amber. So maybe I'll catch her up and have her choose a product. Saul said postcard. Okay. Linda. I think I haven't heard from Linda yet. All right. So hi, Amber. How are you?
Hello, Gianna. I'm just signing on, coming back from my daughter's drop off, but I'll be on my computer in a minute.
Yeah, I heard you. So let me just give you an idea so you can think about it, so that so for when you sign in, we are going to create a final piece, so to say, a product, a complete product from A to Z. And I have a series of photos of coffee shop kind of photos and some text of an owner, and everyone's choosing a different product they're going to create for it. So brochures, greeting cards, postcards, bus ad, a one-page flyer. So think about what kind of product you'd like to create, so that when you get home and open your computer, you can set up your document to the shape of whatever you want to do, and then I'm gonna slowly walk you through one, but in the end, other than the shape and the kind of message they need to convey, a lot of them are very similar in the complexity of making it happen, right, or putting it together. So you're welcome to do whatever shape you want out of it. All right, so I'm going to head over to Illustrator. Let me close this one off. And I'm going to say, well, how do I find out what's the right size for a postcard or for a greeting card or for a brochure or for a bus ad, right? For the flyer. The only one here that doesn't really have anything specific to find out is the one-page flyer, because if you do a flyer, you can do whatever you want, right? I mean, hey, it can be whatever size you're usually inside of an 8.5 by 11 kind of thing. The question though is if you want it to also bleed or something like that. But for the most part, for a bus ad, you're probably going to have to look up, you know, what would be the traditional size for a bus ad, and if you want it to be on the side or on the back. And maybe our Santa Barbara buses, if you go to MTD, they might give you an idea of what size buses they are. So you basically have to start with some idea that's real. Brochure or postcard. Well, postcard, there's specific sizes that you can send in the mail for them to be able to be posted with free. Oh, there you go. Christina works for MTD. I have so many of you guys that come from MTD. That's interesting. I love it. Maybe you guys are hopefully being told, passing on the word, but I've had a lot of MTD students. When you said bus ad, I thought that, but now I know that. So yeah, tell us what bus and what part you're going to put this in. That would be great and wonderful. But also you might want to tell us, see, because you're an insider, so to say, for one company. Where would you find that kind of information yourself? Like, where would that be if someone was told, hey, we hire you as a designer to design an advertisement for our bus. This is the web page, or this is the place where you find out all about our model, trucks. Maybe you can tell us that, and that would be helpful for everyone else. So anyway, greeting cards. There's every type and shape and size of greeting cards, right? But there's some that if you don't want to have a special envelope made for you, you need to find out what envelopes are there that you can have as how do you call it? As a template for you to work within. I worked for years for a greeting card company, and you can't imagine the variety of greeting cards that I made, and cuts and die cuts and foils or not foils, but you're constrained to a certain set of things that you don't want to create. You want to create new cards for everything, but you don't want to have to create a whole new size of envelope. You pretty much make a different color envelope, but those envelopes exist, right? Okay. So brochures, is it going to be a 2-page brochure? Is it going to be a 3-page brochure? Is it going to be a trifold? Is it going to be an accordion? Is it going to be, you open it up and you have like a big poster, and then you fold it up and like an origami, and it's one thing. There's so many types of brochures, right? So choose one and let's do some research and make it work. Okay. So how about I'm going to do research on, I said I'd do a postcard, which is probably one of the more boring ones. And the reason I'm saying that is because I want to be able to be on hand to help other people. So I'll do a simple one, but I'm going to do some research on that here online, so to say, with you guys. But you guys can do the same thing, but for your product. So let's take maybe 5 or 7 minutes to do some research about the product we want. And there's some places that actually also sell templates, and not templates. I don't want you to design the template itself. Like, I don't want you guys to get a template where you pop in a photo, pop another photo in, and you're done. Like just the outline of the template, right? Because if you create a trifold brochure, it's a document that actually one of the sides of the 3 panel is a tiny bit smaller than the first one, because when you actually fold a piece, one has to be inside of the other. And maybe you might have thought about it, maybe you might have not thought about it, right? A greeting card, usually the first page is an 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch bigger than the back one, so that when it folds, here I'm sharing things with you that I'm not, so that when it folds, the lines aren't completely the same, because it might fold wrong, kind of like the bleed. It might fold wrong, and then you might see a bit of white. So they make it a tiny bit bigger so that it always folds, that the inside one is always on the bottom. Things like that. I don't know that with a 5-minute research, you could find all that kind of information out, but Trying to see if I have a brochure of all the things that I always have. Don't think I have a trifold here. Anyway. The typical brochure is a trifold brochure, and I don't have one here to show you, but all right. Never mind, you get the idea. Okay, I don't. I get the idea. So there's places online where you can find templates, and so I'm going to go ahead and let me go down. Oh, you have two people who handle the contracts for ads, and are we all doing a postcard? No. I'm happy for you to do a bus ad, right? And for anyone to do a greeting card, I'm just going to follow the steps of creating a product. My product will be a postcard, another person will be a brochure, another bus ad. But in the end, you're going to have to create the base size template, decide if it's going to have bleed or not, bring in photos, have a logo created or create one, put in some text, and that's the same no matter what shape. So yeah, thanks for that clarification. You can all do whatever one you want. I'm going to suggest to use these coffee house photos so that you don't have to also go searching for the materials. But Cheyenne works in a tourism and she's going to be a flyer. If you want to do that with some of your materials, go for it. And Christine, if you want to do it with some actual bus material, MTD advertising itself on the side of its own bus, you're welcome to, or take it on that you're making the ad for this coffee company for the bus, right? So I see. Sharing my screen now. And hold on, I need, what's that one? I need that one. Should I do that one, that one, and this one? Okay. And I have my InDesign in the other page. And if those of you who are seeing this is the newsletter we were working on yesterday, but let me switch to this. Okay. So I'm going to start by figuring out what would be the correct size for a postcard to be mailed, and what place it has to have reserved for the the area where you have to put in the stamp and all that. There's some sizes, and if you guys are doing business, envelopes, you might find out, can you do designs on the whole envelope? Does it have a space that needs to be clear? Things like that. So anyway, I am sharing my process, but right now you should be on your bus, on your, I saw a thing coming in the chat for a bus and I said, but Amber, are you also an MTD person, or you just put the MTD specs there?
I just use Google.
You just use Google. So so she put it in the chat, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click on that just to see. So here's the page that MTD has, and it's showing you all
We're
the
looking
different.
at a child.
What's that?
We see a child on your screen.
Oh, so I'm not sharing this screen, huh? Thank you. Oh, I'm so glad you told me that, because I thought I was sharing this one already. All right. So so the link that, oh, there you go, Christina. Christina works for MTD, which is why it was so funny that I saw an MTD thing come from you. So here it is. Here's a page where you can go, and each company would have that, right? Here are the different buses that they own. And if you want to do this kind of ad or this kind of ad or this kind of ad, it's telling you how much it'll cost, right? But for us designers, it's telling us what the sizes those ads have to be. And what I do not know is if, I'm asking you now, Christina, but this is the kind of thing you guys would have to do. Find out, she said that they put it in the contracts for people, but when say the coffee house hires you and says, I want an ad on MTD, you have to come over here and find out, how do I make that? What are the requirements? What are the specifications? And then right here they are. the money part, I don't care. Technically, that's my client. Mechanical requirements. So, you know, the advertiser is responsible. For interiors, you need a minimum of 100 poster cards. Ads have to be printed on 120 paper. So these are, you know, it's basically telling you 120-pound paper. If you're going anything thicker than 25 paper is recommended. Lamination is recommended. That way they're durable. So they're basically telling you what needs to happen. And every company is going to give you information kind of like this. All ads must be full bleed print on Flexcom bus market material. This is for exterior ads, right? So then you have to go, okay, I wonder what's that material? Clearly only a specific kind of printers can do it. Not everyone has that. So then you need to do a research on that. And then this is about rates again. Okay. So basically from here to here is what we as designers would care about knowing. All right. And here, like, is it going to be in the back? Is it going to be on one side or the other side, or what bus? So then, of course, the marketer, whoever, would probably have had to first check on the line that goes through downtown, for example, which bus do they use? Do they use this one or that one or that one? And so then you go, you know, whatever, that's, you're going a little bit into detail. But there you go. Another person wants to do an ad for MTD, go for it. Here you have the information. By now, hopefully you all are doing research on whatever other shape you said you were going to do. I'm going to go ahead and see postcard specs, for example, and start with a very simple word just like that. And postcard specs for designers comes up immediately. So let me see. And postcard mailing design diagram. Postcards might be at least 3.5 to 5 to qualify for first class rate. So it seems to have information. So because there's a size after which the mail doesn't take it as a postcard anymore, right? So here we go. You might have fallen on a different page with your search, right? But you have guidelines. Anyway, so we're going to read this area. Remember yesterday, the people who were in my newsletter class, I talked about the indicia, and it's this little area that you need to leave completely empty for a postcard. Although sometimes if your company is going to pay for the for the reply postage or whatever, you would say something like, put your stamp here, or postage free. I don't remember right now what the word is. If you reply with this, well, you know, when you want people to reply to you, you pay for the postage for it. Safe area would be, you know, the outside, the inside of which you can write, and then all of that area has to be left empty for return area. Okay, and then here it's telling you that this is how big minimum you need to leave the space for the address, and this down here for the post office code bar. So basically you can't design anything in here or in here or in here, and you need to have a clear space about yay big for the postcard. The rest you can put stuff on, and this would be the back side, of course. On the front side you can do whatever you want. So this is really helpful. And then down here, look, it gives me a download a PDF postcard template. So, okay, I'll go ahead and do that. And this is the PDF that they're going to send me, so I can download that. And what I can do is I can put this art in the background of when I'm designing, like kind of outline these areas and make myself like no-go zones so that my design doesn't break into these areas. Does that make sense? And now this is for a very specific size. I'm going to go ahead and download that. I'm going to save as a PDF. I'm going to export this one as a PDF. Put it in my design techniques folder. I don't know if you see that piece here. Okay. So, cool. So there, you know, maybe design guidelines and diagrams and stuff like that. But most interesting, here they have actual templates, right? So the envelope, a self-mailer, booklet. If you want to design a booklet to mail, I'm going to download the one for the postcard. There it is, which is the one that I had already downloaded. And so on and so forth. All right. anything else you guys found? I'd love you to share. What have you guys found about brochures or, oh, happy early Mother's Day. Thank you. You're right. It is Mother's Day, isn't it? Happy Mother's Day to everyone here who's a mom. Oh, it was so sweet. Yesterday in my in-person class, 2 people brought me a little package, like goodies, candy bar and whatever. And they're like, it's Teacher Appreciation Week. And I had no idea. I'm like, yay, thank you. I get something out of being a teacher. So any
So,
teachers out there?
Which webpage are you on here?
This one is, I just
Okay, Smart Press. Okay.
Smart Press, but I want you
Thank
to
you.
check around. Like I made a Google search. I went Google and I wrote postcard specs. Maybe it's a brochure templates or maybe it's a trifold brochure, brochure, maybe specs again, and or slash template, right? If that's what you're trying to do, and you hit return. And then you see that there's templates of all type and kind. I'm concerned with the word template only because I don't want you to download one of the ones where you just pop in your stuff and you get it done for you, right? But I want you to know the sizes. So I'm looking over here, 8.5 by 11 brochure templates. And again, it's from US Press. So I'm gonna
Yeah, I went to
click on that
Vistaprint and
one.
looked there.
Okay. And so here you have examples. Now, look at this, you guys. This is what I meant. A trifold brochure template isn't just a piece of paper divided in 3. But if you notice the sizes, you'll notice that the middle panel and the back panel seem to be the same size. And this one it folds inside of that one. And so it's a little bit smaller. See by numbers, it's a tiny bit, it's just a tad smaller because it needs to fold into this little bit and then that'll fold over it. So it's not just an evenly divided by 3, right? And then when you go to mail it, it's that middle panel on the back side that's where you have the indicia and the space for writing and stuff like that. If it's going to be a mailer kind of poster. So this is a really good set of specs telling you what's the fold lead size, what's the safe area, what's the final trim size. Okay, so basically final trim size would be 8.5 by 11. Does this mean if it's going to be 8.5 by 11 that you're going to be able to print it on an 8.5 by 11 sheet, the kind that we have at home? From the specs that I'm reading here, right? You think, oh great, 8.5 by 11, I can print these out at my home. What do you think?
Well, since it talks about
Probably.
trim size,
Mm-hmm.
I would think it comes from larger sheets.
Yeah, and look over here, full bleed size is going to be 875 by 1125. So no, you're not going to be using, you need that bleed size. So this is going to have to go to a printer that has at least the possibility of print tabloid size, right? Now, this goes to show that if you're doing it in home, you're just doing, 20 brochures that you're going to put out there for an event and you're going to do it on your own printer, then you're going to want to make these sizes smaller so that it does fit. Or plan B, you make sure to design without bleed. You make sure that all your colors and stuff stay on the inside and that you can do this as your final, ignoring the little bleed line, and that your trim size is your trim size. I want to tell you that still won't work if all you can do. Yeah. Well, no, I have a home printer that prints to the edge of the paper. You can buy those. I do have it. So I'm saying Christina says in-home printers don't print their cards to the edge of paper, but I actually do have one. But let me tell you something else. Home printers aren't precise. And what I'm trying to say is if I were to go with no bleed and say, okay, I have 11 by paper and I'm going to print it. When you put it in your printer, it won't print. The grabbers will grab it in a way that it won't be the exact folds. And then when you try to fold it, you'll have a lot of this side and very little of that side. So if you really do plan to do it on a home printer, even one that does prints to edges, maybe your brochure is going to have to not be a final trim size of 8.5 by 11. Maybe it's going to have to be an 8 by 10.5 or something like that, so that you have space to jiggle around, and then you'll cut them by hand and fold them by hand, and it's fine. But don't expect even to be able to use the complete 8.5 by 11 ish part of it. So basically, you have to send them out to someone to do it, and they have machines that would do that. So this immediate means that you're going to be paying more than for an 8.5 by 11 size of paper. You'll be paying for cuts, because out of a big size of paper that they print this in, they're going to have to cut, and each cut it costs 1 trim, 2 trims, 3 trims, 4 trims. They're going to have to do 4 cuts, and each cut has a certain price on it, et cetera, right? Just things that you need to start being aware of and keeping in mind. Okay, so maybe you'll go, oh, I'll just make a little brochure or something like that. I don't know. You guys decide. But here you have some ready to buy your brochures, and here you have some PSD templates or InDesign templates or Illustrator template. Look at that. I'm going to go ahead and download the InDesign template. And again, I don't know this company, so I usually say be careful who you print from, but who you download things from. But there you go. And here's like design templates, and it has card magnets and greeting cards. And oh, there you go, greeting cards. Someone who wanted to know what a template for their greeting card might be. And again, you might see that little tiny bit of a smaller back page than the front page. Yard signs, right? You just don't want to design something and say, I'm going to put it on yard sign. You got to know what that yard sign has to be, right? So I'm going to go ahead and here's my bridge. I'm going to go ahead and throw this InDesign template into it. Save it. No, it didn't work. Go to my Finder and find that InDesign template that I just downloaded. To my downloads. Here it is, the trifold. Can I drop it in there? Yeah, I just did it. Trifold, there it is. And then if I double click. So this is the template that I just downloaded. You guys are seeing Bridge, yeah? Okay, so I'm going to open that one. And here it is. It opened up in InDesign. So this is the kind of template that I do guys want you to do. What I don't want is if you go to like a lot of the times Vistaprint or Canva, those kind of places, when you download a template for them, they have a box here to put your photo in, a box here for you to put your text, a box like it's pre-designed. And I don't want you to do a pre-designed one. I want you to learn how to create the design, but you're still going to need to know this kind of information, right? So, and most importantly, like this here, this blue line. See, the bleed is that red line. The safe area that our margin is this blue one here. That's the bleed. And then that line here, that is the die cut, so to say, that how they're going to create the perforations for the folds. Okay, so you have to design within that. If you do that, you need to go, well, which one's going to be your front cover, which one's going to be your back cover? Well, if this is the middle panel that's going to go to be sold, then the one on the right is the front cover, and the one on the back is going to be inside. So it gets kind of hard to think. This is the main thing I wanted to show you. It gets kind of hard to decide what goes where, and the best example I have here. Let me get a piece of paper. I have something here. It's 8.5 by 11. I have an 8.5 by 11 here from Bank of America. Okay, so the best thing and the first step before you do any kind of design, and I have hundreds of these, and don't I have any more of these here? You have to create a mock-up. I think here's what I brought to show you. You have to create a mock-up. I don't have a trifold for sure, but you have to grab a piece of paper, cut it the final size of what you decide it's going to be, and then make that, make that shape happen. You might even want to print one of these papers and make that shape happen. And when you do that, this isn't a blank piece of paper, so it's a little bit harder, but you have to create, like, this is digital design techniques, but you have to go to real life and create stop my share for a minute. You have to create a mock-up of what you want, right? And again, on a plain piece of paper, which I don't have here, is better. Because then you can see if this is going to be the mailer and this is going to be the front. When you open up, these two will be read together. And then when you do that, all three will be read together, but you want to make sure that there's nothing here. And this is the left side of the back panel, and this is the right side of the front panel. But as you do this, this moment will exist, and you need to make sure that these also work together. Does that make sense, you guys? Because when people take advantage of that and make something that continues, but then when they do that, that thing also continued here, right? And then it really works well to consider that. You also want to consider that some people design it and don't notice that they designed it so that in a way the middle should have been on top, but then that doesn't work because this one's fatter. So make sure that you make your middle smaller, that tucks inside and it goes over, and that this is where you put. So basically on a blank piece of paper, and I would print out a piece of paper. I would fold a piece of paper like this, and I would write back, front, middle, interior, side, and then up arrow, so that I'm really clear what I'm designing. And then when I'm in the computer, I'm putting the right thing in the right spot. Does that make sense? I think I showed you a while ago, this one here, that when it arrived, and this is, more complicated, right? But when it arrived, it was something like this in the mail, right? It came like this. So here's the address. Here's the front that I received, right? And then as I open it, it said something in a way that was readable, in the sense that this was in front. But when this was over here, it was readable as well. Guess what? In real life, if I turn it around, this one, for me to read it well, had to be upside down with respect to this panel. So this panel, you're reading it, but up here, it had to be flipped, because when I open it, I read it like this. So whatever this page is pointing down, and this is pointing down. But in my template, I'm going to have things that are reading down there, but this is going to be upside down. Does that make sense? So those are the kind of things you need to consider when you're designing this whole thing. No, here, I was doing the wrong side. And when you're designing this whole thing, everything is going to be read top to bottom, except for this. And in your design, you need to know to flip this one. How would you have known if you didn't first fold it, mock it up, and give yourself a bunch of arrows, right? And then when you turn it to the other side, right over here, sorry, and to this side, you'll discover that the stuff that gets mailed, the mailing is up, but then the piece that's inside when you open looks this way. But when it's flat and you design it, right, this is pointing down and this is upside down. You're designing this part upside down on the flat side. Does that make sense what I'm showing you guys? You got to put things out, break open a cereal box, break things open, and discover that things have, that you have to print things in a specific direction according to whatever you're printing, and that direction really does matter. Okay. So you can't even ideate it without making it on paper, cutting out the shapes and start folding it and go, okay, this is down, this is down, this is down. In this case, there's no issues about down so much, but there is issues about what direction you would put on the side your information for people to tear it open and open it up and already begin to see things in the right direction. And if your trifold brochure is going to be one that they open like that, and then there they see like a flyer can be sent as you want it to really be a flyer and not a typical brochure. But if you send it in the mail, it would have to have the same shape, because then when people pull it open, it's a little poster and they read it top to bottom. So it's more of a flyer. But in order to receive it, the middle of the back had to have the address, right? And then here you might have some more information or nothing. The black might be blank and it's just the address, but the inside is the flyer. All right. So hopefully I've given you an idea. Basically, what I'm trying to show you is how important paper mock-ups. Half the time, every time I did a lot of package designing, and half the time you're working on just that mock-up that you're going to have to create a diet template for the printer to cut, and you want to make sure it all works before you go to to the real thing. So actually, since I downloaded this one, maybe I will work on a trifold template instead of on a brochure, instead of on a postcard. Okay, how's it going, you guys? I want to hear from all of you. Did you find the sizes or the limitations or the possibilities of what you're going to create? Yep. I want to hear from all of you guys. So tell me, haven't found it yet? Give me a hand, or I don't know where to start, or yeah, I have it. I'm starting.
I had
So-
a question about when you downloaded that, what was it? What is it that you downloaded? Was it your own picture or was it their thing?
I went to, hold on, let me share the right shape. Here we go, share. I went to a website and I typed, what was it that I typed? I'm gonna go back to see if I can remember what I typed. I think I wrote trifold brochure specs templates on Google. That's it. That's what I wrote on Google. And all these different companies came in offering me templates. And if you go over here on images, then there's a ton of them, right? Look at all those possible templates that you could be. But I just went, some are simpler. The one I downloaded has a lot of information, but there's simpler ones. There's just back, front page. That's it. Like just that little line. Measurements for a trifold, that's on Pinterest, so you probably won't be able to download it. Of all the things I followed this link, and it took me to this one. I didn't know. I clicked on one, and if it didn't have the information, I would have come to click on another one. Things like Adobe Express templates or even trifold brochures, I'm not sure because I didn't try it. I think those people offer you more templates, as in drop the photo in this spot and drop your art in this spot. They give you a template where they say, here's where your photo goes, here's where your art goes, right? I think. I might be wrong. Because these are, but if over here in Vistaprint, you go to specs and templates, and let's see what kind of templates they'll offer. So anyway, full bleed, document size, trim. Oh, this is like a two-fold, I guess. So it's not a trifold. Fold. Oh, you tell it trifold, bifold, trifold. There it goes. If you go for a trifold one, then maybe it'll give me the template for a trifold. Folds like a letter, best for this, best for that. Paper thicknesses, paper stocks. Okay, so if I go to the trifold, unfolded size, I wanted it to be an 8.5 by 11. Let me see then if it gives me a template for that. No, this unfolded size, fold, trifold, unfolded size 8.5 by 11. Okay, let's see if now it gives me a template for that. Yeah, give me that template. And then down here it says you can get a PDF, an SVG, or an Illustrator. Create your print ready download template. So let me see what Vistaprint gives me. I'm going to download Adobe Illustrator. There it is. Allow. Now I'll open that one. There it is. This is the one that I got from Vistaprint. It's not as detailed as the one I got from, I don't even know the company that I got this one from. This one gives me much more information to know what's, without me having to guess. It already tells me this is your front, this is your back, it folds in, tells you the size. So this one is kind of better for if you want to learn. On the other hand, if all you're trying to do is do the work and you know, then here you got the basic template. I would have to measure to make sure that they have it right as far as size and stuff like that. But if they did, if they have a good one, you can just start designing. And this is just left in a layer as the template to guide you. And you need to know when you print it out that you should have used the right size of the front and the back and all of that, right? So, but all I did is I went online and downloaded an existing template. In the time that I was working in packaging and greeting cards and all of that, yeah, we had to create our own templates, but it basically, we made them out of paper, then we measured them out and then we put the sizes in there, right? Now there's a lot that you can find online that just wasn't there before. So it's like, yay, go find up online, but make sure when you get a template from anywhere, the first thing you should do is put some text in each one, boom, 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 print it, and then fold it. Make sure it works before you spend hours working on anyone's template, because some people could be newbies who are just trying to get a template out there, and some people are really good templates. So Amber, again, put it in the chat. I see your hand is up, Monica. Put in the chat downloadable templates from Moo. And by the way, Moo, I went the other day, you told us about Moo, and it has some really good learning tutorials and stuff. I like them. So how to use downloadable templates, centers, sizes, flyers, templates. And so maybe for Cheyenne, who's doing a flyer, postcard templates. Norma said she would do a template. Both Moni said maybe a postcard, maybe both said. So go to the link that Amber put in there if you want to do a postcard template, and then click over here, letterhead, sticker books. Let me try the postcard. And here you go, small postcard templates to download to Illustrator, Photoshop, or InDesign. I'm going to go for the InDesign for a small postcard or a standard postcard. I'm going to go to the Adobe InDesign standard postcard template. Okay, and then I'm going to back up and I'm going to go to a, they have brochures.
They don't have a trifold.
Yeah, they don't have a trifold. Okay, so, but they have greeting cards. Okay, someone mentioned greeting cards. Linda, greeting cards and holiday templates. Okay, here we go. InDesign template for InDesign. All right, so now I'm going to go to, and I'm going to put them in Bridge just so that you guys, so that I can open them up from here. I'm going to put the whole folder that I got. That way you'll see that these come in folders. So, okay. So now these are the things that I just downloaded. Okay. And they came in the shape of folders for 2 of them and 1. So this is the one that we already showed you. What's it called? Let me double click on it. Oh, that's the same one. I guess I had already opened it. So sorry about that one. Back to Bridge. I didn't see their name, so I have to search. Here's another one. What's this? This is the mailing design postcard. That's a PDF. No, I had already shown you that one. That's a PDF. Here, template. Trifold template, INDD. I think that's the one that we already opened. Yeah, that's the one
I
that's
think
in
it's those
InDesign.
2 blue folders.
Yeah, those 2 bottom ones. I just want to, because I know I downloaded some small ones on their own, and that's the one I already showed you. Okay, so then I had US standard and US greeting card. So let's go for the standard postcard. There's a template for landscape or for portrait. So let me go for the landscape, and it's an IDML, which, oh, this is a good one to show you. You know how InDesign is INDD? But if, depending on the version of InDesign that you have, if you make it in, say, InDesign 2023, and you put it online, and someone who has InDesign 2020 tries to open it, they can't. So if you want to put out a template that any person who has InDesign, no matter their version, can open, you save it as an IDML. That's like it doesn't care about versions. And so we're opening an IDML, and here we go. This is my postcard, which basically doesn't seem, shouldn't it have? So this is not a very good, this is a Moo one, but it's just the front, but they're not giving me information of what to avoid for where to put the stamp and all that. So this is just an art postcard kind of thing to deliver by hand, but this doesn't seem to be a template that works for actually making a postcard that's going to be sent in the mail as a marketing piece, because it just shows me how to design one. So there you go. You never know what you're going to get. It's great for the one side, but it doesn't give me information for the other side. And then let me see if that's the same way they did the other one is a greeting card. This one, the greeting card doesn't need to be sent. So I'm going to go with portrait mode, typical green card. And here we go. And this again is weird. So these are the Moo print, but this one is only one side. It doesn't have
I
a
wonder if
second
that has to
page.
do, the service they offer is called Infinity Print, and so you can upload like any number of photos. And so one side they'll let you just do full photo, and they'll change all the covers.
Okay, but okay, so if you design it, what this means that Moo would only let you design the front, right? And this is for Moo, and it tells you, and the reason you can see this is because this is a half of a template. Okay, what do I mean by that? There's no bleed here. Why? Because this is going to be another blank side, right? So basically what they're saying is give us your design in this amount, you know, be careful of the safe area, the margin, and be careful of the bleed if you're going to do full bleed. But what's happening here is that this means that your art is going to go on the front page and then the rest will be just blank. Now, when I design greeting cards, we also designed the back side, the inside, right? So it's the product that Moo offers is for you to put your artwork in the front. That's great. But this isn't a full template if you're trying to design the card inside and out, in front and back. And in the back, we would have to put the code and all that kind of stuff, barcodes and things. But in the middle, you can put you can design the whole middle too, both sides and mid-page. Now, of course, this is a much cheaper thing to just design color one side and then the inside is blank. So it depends on what kind of card you want to do. All right, so use the template that the printer you're going to use provides you. If you're going to go to Moo, use this one. If you're going to go, you know, with other places, go with other places, right? So anyway, basically, if they give you just the front, it's because they'll give you a generic background that they already have that has a space for the stamp and has a space forever. They're not letting you design that, so you can't put anything in the back, like the story of the coffee house. If you want to put it in the back, in this case, you wouldn't be able to do it. All you have is the front to design. Okay, there you go. So did everyone download stuff? Oh, Monica, your hand has been up for a while.
Yes. So it's basically the next question. So I decided on a trifold brochure. I downloaded that template
Mhm,
from the one you have on your screen too.
mhm, mhm.
Now what?
All right, great question. Now what? The one I downloaded already is in design. So I was able to open it in design. This is the kind of thing that you could have done in Illustrator too, for people who love Illustrator, in the sense that it's two flat things. You don't have pages, right? As soon as none of the things that we've talked about have pages. So, so you could design it in either one, which is why you saw templates in both. Now, if I go to layers, right here, in the bottom, the template is already locked. If I turn this off, I mean, this is a well-designed template. I'm glad I got this one down because it's giving you the information here for you to know, and it's locked, so you can't like grab it or touch it. But then you turn off the eyeball and it's like, okay, it's for you to design now, right? Now, instead of turning off the eyeball to everything, what I would do is I would open this. They do have it done in a way. Oh, they put in a PDF in here. Okay, I was going to say I would just turn on the layer with my guidelines, but guess what? That's okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make my own guidelines following this. So to make guides in InDesign, you'll grab here in this side, you'll drag in a guide. You'll put it exactly in the spot that they're saying is the place that the folds are. Boom and boom, right? And then when you turn this off, you have the guides for the middle. That's all that matters. Make sure to put them exactly, because that's where that little 1/8 of an inch, and so don't do it from afar. Go in and put those guides and drop them off exactly on the spot that they said they have to be. So like I dropped mine off, right? And then when you turn this off, you'll know that that's your lines, and then do it again for the second page. Whoops. Move a bit closer and drop my first one in here. Okay. And then drop my second one in here. So I've created that guide, and then, and I'm putting those in here. And then if there's anything else I need to know, There we go. Perfect. Now I'm ready to go, right? And if I ever want to remember, well, was this the front or the back or, what did I do? I got rid of that. I had gotten rid of that. Sorry. So once you put in your guides, then you can just use this. I had to redo it again because I had deleted the top panel. So
When you did your guides, are you centering, you know, if you do a close-up, are you centering it in the middle of their lines, or are you doing it on the inside or outside?
well,
Oh.
I'm hoping that they're accurate enough that I'm going to try to put it in the middle, right?
Yeah,
Because they
okay.
have a pretty fat stroke.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
what I
I'll
thought.
make sure to consider the middle. And which is why you want to do this from nearby, because these on here, I didn't do them from nearby. And see, I had not hit the middle. I had not hit the exact middle. So I'm gonna redo that. This one I did. This one had the middle. And this one is a little bit off. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull another one out. There we go. And drop it right there. So now I know that my guides are exactly right. Go to Command 0, Command minus. And when I turn this off, there we go. I have the basics. Is there anything else I'm going to need to know? Yes, I'm seeing that if this is going to be in the mail, I should also mark this off so I can make myself a line here and a line here and a line here and here and here and here to know when I turn this off that there's blocks there that I can't use, but it's a bit harder to read those blocks. Actually, this is this, let me see. Oh, that one's this one, but it's a little bit harder to read those blocks. So what I would do in this case, to mark myself those spaces off, I would do the guides, right? And then I would grab a box and I would draw a box in the space that I described with my guides, right? And I would fill it with a color. So I'm going to go ahead and go over here and fill it with black or something obnoxious. But sometimes I prefer sometimes the obnoxious color because it lets me know it's not a piece of my design versus I might design something that has a black box, right? So when I choose an obnoxious color, I'm aware that it's a template piece because this one otherwise might be more confusing. And then I'll make this other block there. So let me again choose an obnoxious color. And there you go. That coincides. Oh, that one coincided with the wrong one. This one goes to there. Cool. And the good news about that is that now I can get rid of these guides, these extra guides that I put in there just to make my blocks. And if I drag them all the way into the ruler, they disappear. And this one. So that I'm left with only the guides that mattered to the brochure. So there you go. I'm getting rid again now of all those. And you can actually hit delete. In the past, you could only drag them there. So there you go. Now I have the guides that matter are the side ones. And I have these two telling me not to do anything. So I can lock these. I can put them in another guide. Like I can make a new layer here and call this one mailing block, or so to say, mailing block, and make sure that these guys are in that layer.
When you said I make a new layer here, where was here?
Oh, I haven't shown you yet how to make new layers. I'm sorry. This is my layer. So let me do that again. Let me undo everything I've done so that I can show you. Layers panel. Do you have a layers panel? Have I not shown you yet in InDesign? I've showed it in Illustrator, but I don't think I've shown it in Illustrator and InDesign. So, oh, I have for the people who took the digital design class, I changed. We've been using the essentials panel here, I believe. And I had everyone go to the advanced one. And that's why I'm sitting in this panel right now, which might be a better idea for all the designs that we're going to create because you have this kind of information here. You're welcome to stay in your essentials or to move to this one, but I if you want to use a new one just to learn about other stuff, this one is really comfy. So go to the advanced one, and then you have your pages and your layouts and your links right here. And so here's your layers. And basically this came like this. This is what, if you ignore those two bright boxes, this is how the template arrived. One layer designed already by them, and all they did is they placed a PDF of a template that they designed somewhere else. That's it. And it's that. And then they left another layer here that was empty for you to work in. Now, the two boxes that I made ended up in your design here, but these are still not really my design. These are just for me when I turn this one off, because I can't design on top of this. There's just too much junk in there, right? I can't design on top of this. So I'm gonna turn this off, and I'm just gonna know to design everywhere except for these two blocks. So I want to create this also as something that I don't move around and that I can't like mess up. So I want to lock them. So my idea was, let's make another layer here. Okay, and how do you make another layer? If this is closed or open, doesn't matter. When you create a new layer down here, it'll appear above the one that you're selecting. So if I select this one and I create a new layer, it'll appear above that. I'm going to say Command Z. If I select template and I create a new layer, it'll be above the template, right? So I want it to be down at the bottom because it's going to be kind of like an addition to the template. So I'm going to do a plus, and I want them to be in here. Now I designed them before I had made, so I'm going to double click on the name, and I'm going to call it mailing box or whatever. And so that's, I'm going to lock later too, just like this one. But right now my stuff isn't in here. And if I open like that, there's nothing in there. If I open that, I have two rectangles. So I need to move these rectangles into this layer. So in this case, I can go over here and select these two and just drag them down, and I'm putting them in the mailing box. So now they're in that layer. I can lock that layer and turn it on and off whenever you want. And then I can still design. And when I'm designing, I can go, I wonder, and I can turn that on. Now I have to admit, most of the times when I do, let me select these two. Even when I find an obnoxious color, and if it bugs me, and it is bugging me right now, I might just make them be there, but much more transparent so that I can see where they are, but they're not so in the way. So that would be a more typical template item. So I turn them off and I do all my designs, but whenever I'm like, I'm wondering if I'm going over it, you just do that and you go, oh yeah, no, that's fine, that's over. Because if I do this, it's still too much, right? It's like too much information. What you might want to put in here too is you might want to write just a simple front, mail, back, like just a little thing that helps you like open it up and now and just know to avoid it. And then you start designing. And since these are locked, anything you're going to design, anything else I make right now, if I bring in a photo or whatever I do in here, is going to be in that one. So let me just show you. When I design in each, see these colors, red, green, and blue? I'm going to unlock them all. If I select this blue template and make anything, I'm going to make a little box in here in this one that's supposed to be empty. But I make a box, it'll be outlined by a blue outline. I'm going to delete that. If instead what I'm doing is I'm making a box in this one, and I make it, see how it comes out green? The bounding box now is green. It's telling me that this belongs to the mailing box layer. I'm going to undo that. And then when I make a design in here, the bounding box is going to be red. See, because it's in that one. So these colors are telling me this is your design here layer versus another layer. Does that make sense? Why these colors mean? It's just a color-coded way for you to know whether you're on the right layer at all. So now if your design is going to be here, you better make sure that anytime you pull out a frame or make something, it's red, and that means you're doing it in the right layer. Now, since you lock these, it's not a possibility, but it could be that if you didn't lock them, and even if you don't see the template, if you're creating something that you might be creating it in the wrong layer. So that's why it's good to lock them and to just be creating in the empty layer. Okay, was that something you guys could follow?
That's
The
great.
layers pipe. All right. So are you all, you don't have to stick with what you said. You could have decided, oh, now I'm going to do a brochure, or now I'm going to do a postcard instead of a card or whatever. But so can you like call it out, or, and if you can't talk, then say it again. What have you all decided to do after all of this? Because some of you had two options. So maybe I'll call you out. Norma, you had said you were going to do a postcard. Is that still your plan? Let me just say answer only if you've changed your mind, or if you gave me two choices, like Moni and Monica gave me two choices. Which one are you going to do?
I'm going to, this is Moni, I'm going to do a brochure. I'm going to make it a,
Okay.
yeah.
And Monica? I can't hear you.
Turns out when you have the chat clicked on, that overrules the talking. I'm doing a brochure.
Okay, so both of you are going for brochure. Cool. Amber, I don't remember your choice.
I don't think I said it yet.
Oh, that because you were driving. That's true.
Right now I have open a square business card with special elements. So I want to do like a raised clear gloss.
Okay. I was hoping for a bit more than a business card because I want you to be able to bring in more material and text and stuff like that. But, you know, if it's got some special elements, and yeah, as long as you stretch a bit in your design and practice a bit of the different things we did, that's good. Ideally, if you're doing it for this coffee house, you're going to have to design a little logo, right? So my goal is for us to go and try to create a little logo for a coffee house to bring in. And if not, if it's something that you're designing for yourself, then show us the logo that you designed or whatever it is that you're doing. But I want to be able to incorporate something from Illustrator. So maybe it's not a logo. Maybe in Illustrator, you make a little illustration for your business card and you bring it in. That's fine. I want to incorporate text, image, so photo or illustration created in Illustrator. Ideally photo, because it's very different when it's an illustration, it's a vector art, than if it's a photo, it's things to take into account. So ideally you have some kind of a JPEG or some photo image and some illustration, which I was going to have it be the logo, but it can be, you know, the illustration of the card. In which case, maybe the photo is a background and then some text. So those are the three things that I want these materials to have. Some of you are already up and running as we talk. Please do it. Don't wait for me. And then as I do mine, I might point out things that you might consider doing in the background. When we're all done with the piece, when I say, okay, it's time to start working on how does this get printed and stuff like that, wherever you're at, you can stop. And so it's okay if you don't have the design done by today and you have to finish it tomorrow or next week or whatever. But I'm going to go step by step through what you need to consider to get the piece done. So it's not a rush to the end, right? Don't just like go flop, 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 I'm done. My point is, as usual, teaching you things along the way. Cheyenne?
Really quick, can you show how you change the color to green on the layers? I missed
Okay.
that.
I didn't change the color. It's
I just added a new
good
one.
question. Every
Yeah.
time you add a new one, it chooses a color.
Got it.
When add a new one, it chooses a color. I believe you can change that. And I'm going to right click layer options. I think, yeah, you can change the color you want for it,
Yeah.
right? So you could change a different color, but it just came out 3 different colors because that's just how it does. Always we've used blue because the first one is always blue, the second one's always green, the third one's always red by default. But you could certainly say, I want it to be pink, right? And it's just right click on the color, layer options, and then choose a different color. Okay. On some of those, you can also choose that on that layer, you're going to lock the guides because you don't want them to move at all. And that would be cool for the one that we just made here on your design, right? You might want to lock those too. But you might also want other guides. And my fear of locking the guides here, like if I'm going to make any guides that I want to lock, I'll want them to be on this one. So see how when I turn this off, the guides disappeared, right? And that's because I turned off that layer where I had made the guides. So if I want the guides to be turned on and off, then, and I leave them on this one, they could be movable, right? They could move around. So maybe you want to put them in a guide layer. So that is actually something that instead of template, because I never really used a template in the past, I would make our own. My template would be where I put my guides and then I would lock it. So I'm going to go ahead and put my guides, make a new layer and just call it guides. Guides, and I'm going to put it down here a bit, and I'm going to put those guides. Maybe what I'm going to do, actually, since this is makes more sense. I'm going to do something that makes more sense. This one already has my guides, the thing that says your design here. I'm going to change the name, and I'm going to call this one, I'm going to say guides locked, right? I'm going to call this one guides locked. Can't type. Guides locked. And I'm going to lock it. Oh, I have this is in there, so I need to get rid of this rectangle. Get that rectangle going. So now I have 3 things that are locked. The main template, whenever I want to go back to say, figure out which one's the front, the middle, and the short, whatever. This one, then whenever I want to go, oh, I just want to see if I'm designing in the right spot. And then this one holds my guides. So this one I will, by having it locked, those guides will not move. And I'm telling you, I have had the situation where I've moved guides and I've designed the whole thing. And then when I go print it out, I go, it doesn't fold. And it's because somewhere at the beginning, I moved a guide even by, a quarter, an eighth of an inch, you don't notice. And then you have to go and redesign the layout. That's not fun. So I've got my guides locked there, and then I make a new one there. And this is going to be my design, right? So, and here I start creating my stuff. So I'm going to bring in a photo over here, right? So then I'm going to place a photo in there. Place one of the beginning photos. So I'm going to go to the Illustrator class. And I'm going to place, oh, this is the Illustrator. It's in the Digital Design Technique class. And I'm going to place this photo. Okay. Boom. And so there you go. I started my design. Okay. I began with this photo. Now I want to show you guys how to move with these photos, how to get the right photo in the right place, how to choose what you want to be in the photo. That's the kind of stuff I want to work with right now. So even though I said it's fine to bring an illustration only, I would prefer if you do, and Amber, you weren't here when I said try to not choose a business card. So when you said that, you were kind of driving, so it's okay. A business card might not have enough to learn too much about it, but maybe make 3 business cards, right? And then when you put in a photo, and then when you do whatever special design you want, and then the other one, you put an illustration. That way you end up getting the practice. So it's not about the product itself. It's just that I want to have practice on different things. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to go ahead and work on a brochure since, hey, here we are. And it seems to be what's popular today. Let's save it. And I'm going to call this one trifold brochure template. And I'm going to go ahead and save as and call this one Coffee House. And I still doesn't have a name. I haven't invented a name for this one yet. So it's just Coffee House brochure. Save as. And if you did have a template, now you're done. You don't have a template anymore. Meaning now the template is saved. You still have that template if you ever need to go back to it. But now you have your own document. And in this case, I have nothing linked to it yet. Here are my layers, and here are going to be my links. So I do have, actually, that's true. I do have some links at this point still, which are the templates that this is what came into the company. Now you might have a different template going. I don't know. I'm just going to go ahead and start with this one. And the first thing I'm going to do is remind myself, where's my front? Okay, this is my front. I might want to just focus on designing the front of my brochure right now. And as I said, because I did my little thing here, I noticed that if this is the front, when I open, this is going to kind of have to work with this. The outer side of this, is that. Okay. This is the outer side. And it's going to touch this. So if I say, and think about this, if I design something like a, I'm gonna go for something, I'm just being, if I put in a circle over here, right? Let me fill it with color. And go with pink. Say that I decide to put a circle over here. Yeah. When I, not over here, sorry, at the bottom, the inside. Okay. The back of this is going to be this one. It's the one that it's in. So if I make a cover, well, I could do it this way too, but it's better if I talk about this one. So this is my cover. When I open it up, I'm seeing the behind the cover, right? I'm seeing the back of the cover, which is that. See how that's the back of this thing? Okay. I should grab a piece of paper because this isn't gonna, it's hard to write. You need to have a blank piece of paper. So if this is my front cover panel, when I turn it around, this is my left side, which is this one. Does that make sense? And this one has to look good with that up on top. I'm trying to, and you can just have no concern. Make each little part of a trifold be its own little thing. That's fine. But you need to know that this one, and I'm going to copy, is going to be what continues here. This is that selection. This is the this is the cover. When I open the brochure, I will be seeing this right here and this right there. So you could play with that, knowing that this sits and it has, so maybe the background of this one is pink and the background of this one is pink too, right? So it looks like I have pink over here, and I made this into a square, so it's kind of made into a circle, but maybe I'll be very clear. I'll make it the color instead of a circle. Maybe the background of this panel is bright pink. And then the background of this panel is bright pink, right? And so when you, and I don't have it in bright spot, background of these two is bright pink. And then over here, you know, this is going to be independent. So I'm going to paste that. And I wish I had a printer to print this and to show you guys. This one, on the other hand, is going to be, I don't know, yellow, right? So what's happening here is that the front of my brochure is going to be yellow. But when I open it, I'm going to see bright pink because I'm seeing this and this together. Is that making sense, you guys? What I'm saying? And although it's in two different pages, that is what my eyes are going to see. So you can play with that and have a big old, you know, sunshine and going, life is happy if you come to my coffee, or a big old bean here going half and half. And, or in one, there's a person pouring coffee and here you have the cup, right? Because this is not even a piece that you think of. And then when you open it completely, right? When you finally do the final opening, you'll be left with only one pink panel right here and the other two, you're going to see them all together. So maybe you don't want to make everything pink, but you can make that pink. And this is maybe a pale pink, whatever, a bright pink and a pale pink, like they work together. Or one is a tone of blue that works with a tone of green, which is in here, because now you're really signing more of a poster. A lot of people don't do that. A lot of people do a brochure where they just kind of put things on each panel and that's it. Boom, boom, boom. Fine. I want to move you into a little bit more creative and consider the piece as a whole. Other than that, just put something here, something here, something here, something here, something here. It'll work. There's many brochures like that work. But I want you to think as a designer where you really want to see what parts and pieces work together to make it be one of those that you go, wow, this is cool. And for better or for worse, I don't necessarily know, I'm just pointing this one out here. Each one of these is designed as an individual part and piece, right? But when you think about it, the thought of this piece was thought of for this color to work with that because they were going to be seen together, right? When they did this, they knew that this would be on top of that. So you're thinking about the whole piece and what position does this need to have for it to read well if this goes there. You just don't put it anywhere willy-nilly. You don't put it here. And then when you open the whole thing, these two flaps, right, have information that match. And now these two flaps have information that match instead of having things that don't make sense. You know what I'm trying to think? So you have to think of the thing as a whole. You have to think about how it looks this way and how it looks when it's this way and how it looks when it's this way and how it looks when it's this way. So you have to consider those folds because people open things in different, ways. I wish I had something that's awesome. It's always so good is I have it in my briefcase of the things I used to take to school for InDesign. I'll have to find it. But I had the UCSB Arts and Lectures. Have you ever gotten one of those brochures that you open it up and it's a huge poster and it's gorgeous? And it comes as a little square. I always have it nearby. It's a square. When you open it up, it's 2 squares, 3, 4.
Yeah, I
It's
think
like an
it's
origami
the-
piece. And then when you're done, it's like a whole poster with each block has one of the photos of the people who are going to be
Yeah, I think
attend,
it's
you know,
the
that way.
Multicultural Center.
The multicultural center, yeah. And then each one of those blocks, they make sure that if the person is looking one way, it's the right one where the other person looks that way. So they really designed the poster first. See what I mean? What the end piece is going to be. And then as it begins to fold, make sure that, you don't want to have 2 things that clash, you know what I mean? But the whole poster is what they first think of, and then how it's going to look in each individual part. So I'm just trying to get you to think beyond. And again, this class, I'm just supposed to teach you how to use the application, but I can't help. My graphic designer, me, wants to teach you how to do a good brochure. So I'm telling you to think beyond each panel as its own thing. Okay. And if it's the first brochure you're designed, well, maybe it's asking a little bit too much. Just do the basics, but try another one over the week, keep trying. And you don't have to finish this today. You have to get the template, you got to have some information in there. We have to get to the point where I can show you how to complete it and print it. And it might take us the whole 2 weeks to do this. If I find that everyone's pretty much finished a good project today, then we'll just do a different one next week. But this one, normally, last time I took 5 weeks over one postcard because I taught things in the middle of it. So I'm fine whichever way it works. But I've always had everyone do the same product. This is the first time I'm testing people doing different products. And I like to change how I teach and I want to see if this is successful. So you'll tell me later, I wish we hadn't done into different things, or hey, I love that we achieved what we wanted. And then I'll use that as feedback for my next class. Monica?
Is there something like a preview option?
Yeah, so the
Like
preview option.
especially with the idea, of the folding in and out, is there a way that I can kind of check if it fits?
Oh, no, that you can only get by doing a mock-up.
Okay.
Mock-ups are the name of the day.
So there's no virtual mock-up basically
Yeah,
that folds.
a mock-up would be you print it out. Okay, I do have examples of mock-ups. I actually did bring this. I was
know,
cleaning
I'm-
out some
I'm-
boxes. So watch for a minute. Watch for
Well,
a minute. When I'm
I
about
don't
to
have a
show-
printer, so for me that would be
Oh,
not a good option.
well, if you don't have a printer, what you might need to do, and if you want to do design, you're gonna pretty much at some point have to have a printer. But what you can do is whatever you design in your thing, grab a piece of paper, fold it into 3, and then kind of just with a
Yes.
big old marker, mark what you put on it. Like look at this and go, okay, here I put the information, here I put the photo, just a little marker sketch, and then
Right.
fold it and see if it works. It's just not exactly right, but you can have an
Yeah,
idea.
I was wondering more about the exactly right.
Yeah. So here I have some mock-ups, for example, of I told I used to do a lot of business card. Let me just stop this when I was first stuffed. I don't know if I have enough light here. Turn on the light so that you can see these products a bit better. But I designed products for years, and so I remember I told that I did some business. Who wanted a greeting card? Who had said they were going to do a greeting card?
I did.
Someone.
I said greeting card.
Okay.
Linda.
Linda, got it. So for example, these are greeting cards. And if you just design the front, right, it's that's all it is. But if you look at this card, it was designed inside so that it's continuous, right? And then the back, which really greeting cards always get looked only like front and back. So, but if you opened the back, it still, we made a point of designing them so that they were still really a good combination of front and back, like it's still balanced front and back. How many people are going to do this to a card to see it in the back? Probably not many, but you know, this was high-end design and we we're trying to have it be well designed all over, but for sure the inside and then the front mattered. But then here, for example, this one is a mock-up, which is after we had made the design, we actually cut front and back and pieced them together. And this is the first step of that mock-up, where this is a trifold greeting card and it has a die cut. See the side? This is foil and stuff. And so we cut it up. This is 2 pieces of paper that are glued with glue stick, right? So we printed each page, we glued them together, we cut them, and then we test. How does this work when I open this? And we go, oh yeah, that looks nice. Let's give it this little border here to transition to that color. And then how does it look as a whole, right? Does anyone ever do this? I don't know. I don't think so. But anyway, in the end, in the middle is where you have the barcode and that kind of information, because that's really the back, right? But we did consider as you open it, you see this, and here's, you know, a sentiment or whatever for that. And then as you open it, here's another sentiment, and here's another little illustration, and here's that border that was here, ends it over here. So you kind of think about the whole thing, you know what I mean? You try to, and then this is just black and white, and who cares? It's not, this wasn't testing color, then this one was testing color actually. And then this would be the final piece. I don't have the 3 parts of the one. Oh, well, actually, that's not true. Here's the mock-up of one of Vista. Do I have the wisdom card here? Here's the mock-up of one of these. See, it's I can tell it's all folded weird. It's a piece of paper that's folded, glued, and you know, when you glue paper, it looks horrible. But the whole point is, are we working? Is it looking as a full as a design? Now, the reason I have these 2, father and father, birthday and birthday. This was a card that was very popular and it got redesigned. So one point it was a greeting for your father, another point it was a birthday greeting, right? And on top of that, 2 different companies took up this design and printed it. And so I want to show you, although it's 2 different ones, what do you see? Can you tell? Is a light big enough for you to tell something about the print? It's the same. I've got the biggest light that I can have on it. What can you tell about?
Well, there's the colors look differently. So I'm not quite sure whether those are different color choices or maybe a result of different paper.
Yeah. Perfect. Most people would first notice maybe that the sun looks different, but then Monica went over to say, but the colors are different too. Like this is purple and this is blue, right? And this is a bright orangey kind of yellow, and this is a kind of a duller, darker fader. And then when we turn them backwards, this is actually, again, you can say this is blue and this is purple. And I wasn't tricking you. I said, this is the exact same file. All we did was change the quote. I mean, not even the quote, because if you look at the quote, it's the same quote. I know, is it? No, we put a different quote. But we put, one says father, one says birthday, and it has a different quote up there. But other than that, we use the exact same file, right? red is very hard to handle. And I told you, these were two different companies. If this was the same company, this would be a big problem, right? Because they have a printer they print with, and every time they print it, if the card came out differently, really bad. But one company bought this one from us, one company bought this one from us. They use their own printers, one who knows, one in China, one in Malaysia, who knows where. And this is the interpretation that printer came up with of that file, right? Now, we always gave color correct proofs, and we told them this is how it has to look like, and we sent it. But then each printer, whatever they did, the people at the company who went to check on the color proofs didn't do a good job of telling them, well, it looks like your colors are off, right? So that said, it's not necessarily a bad card, but someone who knows that this is what you're intending is like, oh, well, you got something different. We made it purple, you made it blue, right? And what's that? It's just a little bit more magenta on a blue, turns purple. So, and that's all it is. But more magenta also gives you a deeper orange instead of a yellow, right? So it depends on what if you this is the right one, then this printer didn't put enough magenta, so he got more of a greenish kind of sun and blue instead of purple. So that's just what it takes to be someone who goes to the press and color checks. You have to take care of that, to think of those kind of things, not just because the printer printed it isn't correct. And here's an example of a mock-up. We did bags. So, gift bags. And this is an actual mock-up. This is glued. I don't know if you can tell. This is cut and put together. It's printer paper that we glued, my mock-up, glued and stuck to make this bag. And so I had to keep in mind what this side was going to look like to this, even though here there's a glue. And when this design was opened up, this panel showed up over here and this panel showed up over there, right? And then this is the bottom, and you need to see in which direction to print it. But if you pull it open, grab any gift card, you guys, and pull one open, and you'll see how it works. And so you need to, present each bit and piece and see how it works to make sure that what you're sending out is doable. So yeah, every time you send something out that's a big deal. I mean, they printed thousands of each one of these, or you got to make sure everything is working, because this, as a template, everything was spread out. You wouldn't have known which part was up, which part was down, and you need to make sure that when you folded it, it all worked as one thing. Anyway, so I'm glad I remembered to show you these guys. I separated them the other day from a box, and I had too many samples of work that I don't need anymore. I was getting rid of stuff, and I said, let me just keep some of these mock-ups that I didn't even know that I had to show in class. So anyway, while I'm talking, hopefully, you've been doing some stuff. I'm looking at what Amber says. I'll do what I originally intended to do for this class and aim to complete a personal portfolio. Okay, that sounds great. Is that business card that you're talking about, or some other things when you say, what was it that you intended to do originally?
Well, they tied together, but just to get them more practice in, I'll do the bigger project for this.
What is that bigger project? Want to share? Or are we gonna see it?
Well, the portfolio. So
the whole portfolio. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Say the bigger project. Okay, sounds good. All right. So has everyone already got their templates? Has anyone have an InDesign opened up that has the right size and shape because of something that they've read and done, downloaded? Maybe you didn't download anything, but you saw the specs for something and you went ahead, and I'm cleaning out your feedback so I can hear. Maybe you saw the specs and you created it yourself. So you said file new, be the size that the pages that you were told to be. If so, if you're already, give me a yes. And if you're not ready, I want to help you get there. So give me a yes if you have something in InDesign, the right shape and size for whatever project you're about to start doing. Let me see. Monica, Norma, Saul, and Linda, Miss and Christina. Okay, let me know. I see Amber and Cheyenne and Moni said yes. Monica said yes. So Linda, Norma, and Saul, because if you don't have one, I want to help you figure it out. As I said, I always started from zero. We created our own templates, but which is doable. So you might have an idea that you want to make a triangular greeting card. Can't find the template for that. Well, I'll help you figure out how to make one, right? Anyway, so that leaves Linda and Norma.
I'm
Everyone
curious
else?
how to just make a greeting card, just a basic greeting card, just
Okay,
with,
yeah.
just
Right,
from
so-
scratch.
so this, in fact, is probably the basic greeting card, and I just want to show you, I don't know if you can see, but let me, the front page. And it's basically just a two spread, right? But the front page, can you tell, is a little bit shorter than the back is a little bit shorter than the front. Can you see that?
Yep.
You
To
see
the-
that there? And that's in order to make sure that exactly, because when the folds happen, you didn't want to have this kind of situation happen, where because of the cuts and the folds, you would end up with something like that in the front. That would be bad. So this one is made a tad bigger. So you're going to make a spread of the right size, and I can measure this one if you want, but your guideline for the cut is going to make sure that, oh, and when you design it, it's interesting, when you design a greeting card and you have it spread like this in your computer, you might think that you start from right to left for the cover. A lot of time people design it, and in the end, it's backwards. It's the right side is your cover, and the left side is your back cover, right? And you're going to make your middle line be a tad, and 1/16 of an inch further to that side, make this one a tad smaller than that one. Does that make sense? I can measure this if you want. This is a basic greeting card measurement. I don't remember the basic greeting card measurements anymore, but I can measure this and tell you. Okay, it's 10 wide by 7, 10 by 7, which turns into, I guess, the 5 by 7. 5 by 7 card is a 10 by 7 template. There you go. With the middle being slightly off. All right, so in your case, now I am going to start sharing my workspace. Okay, so let's head over to Illustrator. So then in your case, you would definitely go File, not Illustrator, why Illustrator, InDesign. And you would go File, New. And File, New Document, by the way, you would go in InDesign. And then you would start for print. And let's go to inches. And we're going to make a 10-inch wide by 5-inch high document. Now, you guys look at what I did and tell me if that's right or wrong. I just measured a greeting card and it was 10 by 5, so I'm setting up my document. Is that right or wrong?
It's wrong,
Why?
because you need to have the trim and the space
Bleed.
for
The bleed.
the bleed and the trim.
If it's wrong if I'm designing this card that needs bleed. It's not wrong if I'm designing a blank card that has the art inside, right? So just remember that. This is the time when you do or not put bleed. The trim size is still going to be 10 by 5. So this is right. Okay. We just need to make sure to add the bleed. So we put the trim size in there. That's the bleed. And then the margin, we probably want it to be much less. A 1/4 inch margin is probably more than good enough. Right. And since it's a design that probably won't have columns, we don't need to do columns. On the newsletter class that I did the other day, we started already with 3 columns. When you know you're going to have text with columns and stuff, guidelines. People who do brochures, you might want to create a grid of columns to help you, but it depends on your design. So maybe not, and then say create. If you're going to do a flyer, so here we go. This is the template for a greeting card. Doesn't look like it, right? Oh, I forgot one thing. Sorry. I forgot that it's the 2-page. It's a spread. So I'm going to go back into a document setup and give it a second page. Oh, I can't from here, can I? Number of pages, 2 page. And I say, okay. All right. So this is the beginning. Oh, I don't need to have it be facing pages. Sorry, I'm going. It doesn't need to be facing pages. So, okay. So here we go. This is how you would design a greeting card if you want to design the front, the back, and the interior. So this would be the front of the card. This would be the back, and this is the interior spread. And the exact middle. So we're going to go and put in a guideline. The exact middle between 10 is 5. But if we put a guide right there, then we're forgetting that I said that the back had to be a tad smaller, right? So then what I'm going to go do is I'm going to give this in. So if this is 5 inches, and this is ½ an inch, and this is a ¼ inch, and this is an 1/8 of an inch, I'm going to give it a 1/16 of an inch space. So I'm going to grab this guide and I'm going to move it to just a 1/16 of an inch off. Okay. And guess what? When I do the bottom spread, I have to do that to the other side, right? The bottom spread, I'm going to have it be 1/16 of an inch and to the right. Does that make sense, you guys? What I just said about the guidelines? Because when you flip it around, this is the back of the front cover and this is the back of the back cover. And so this has to be, now, if this is the cover, this is the back of the front cover. And it's going to be a tad bigger if this is the back cover, which is, or I'm saying it wrong. This is the front cover. It's a tad bigger. And so this one has to be a tad bigger. So on the bottom, I went to the right a little bit on my 1/16 of an inch, which left the back cover on the front, leaving the inside cover a tad smaller, which makes no difference to the design, but it might, if you're making like, if you, another thing for design, if you're, okay, this is my front cover, okay? In case you guys don't remember, this is going to be my front. Let me, this is my front here. Front cover, or front greeting card side in this case. I'm going to call it front cover anyway, right? But this is my front cover. What if I want my back to be blank and I want the front to have a background, a pattern or something? If I make a box this big, right? I'm gonna make it match the thing. And again, let's go for some obnoxious fill green this time. If this is what I design, and look at where I left my box, right? Let me take the stroke off of it so it's pretty clear. No stroke. Okay, so here's my box. Here's, see the guide right there? So if my front's gonna have a color and my back another maybe, or let's say that my back is white. What I did, does it seem like it's correct?
Well, it looks correct, but the fold may not be correct.
Okay, it's going to be bleed. So yes, I made it start all the way out to bleed. That's good. And then I made it to the fold. What do you mean by it not being correct to the fold, Monica?
Well, the folding sometimes isn't exactly precise. So you may have this
Yay!
tiny little line on the back side.
You are thinking right. Same problem that why the bleed exists. That same thing can happen in the fold. What if they fold it off a little bit? And if I only brought my color to the exact fold and the fold happens a little bit off right there, then I have a white line. So if you're going to do one color, you need to extend your box. And this is a bad color because you barely see that line, another 1/16 of an inch, or even sometimes a bleed size away from that middle, so that when the fold happens, I don't have any design on this one, so it doesn't show. But if this had extended to that, you would want, when you look at a good greeting card, the color continues. The spine should have the color of the front, and it ends teeny bit, ideally, like minimal on this side, because that's a little bit, I mean, the spine, however thin, occupies a certain space. You need to make sure that the fold got, that it didn't get cut wrong. Do I have any here that is colored? No, all the ones that I have, which is why a lot of the times you don't do that. you purposely do something to the spine so that you don't fall into that problem, right? Here, that would be a way to get rid of that problem. I don't have any sample where something ends up exactly right, but going to this example, right? Whoever designed, this is the front, okay? Oh, there you go. I am seeing it right now. This is the front. And thus, this should go over a little bit more. And do you see that it does? See how there's a little bit of black right there? And then, again, this is the front red. And when you look over here, see how this red goes over a teeny bit over? You see that? Because was this red a problem here? No. But would a white line here have been a problem? Yes, to this look. So they made it go a teensy bit over into that side. And the front, you didn't want a white line there, so it made it go a teensy bit over to the back. And again, when you start opening up things that are well designed, you start noticing these things. So play around with pieces. Notice that although the fold is there, that's the fold line, the color was extended a 1/16 of an inch either way. Does that make sense, you guys? So, and we're going, you know, maybe you guys are like, oh, that's high-end design. I'm just trying to make myself a flyer, which is fine. But keep these things in mind, because hopefully you guys are also maybe thinking about this as a career. And if so, these are the things you need to consider. The folds inside the brochure, the colors, the overlap. So yeah, that would be what you have to do to make sure that when this folds, it doesn't happen. Or consider that part of your design and that you do it on purpose. And maybe what you have in here is a gradient that bleeds out or to white or whatever it is that you're going to do. All right. This is why I'm asking you to show me your designs and tell me what you're doing, because then I can warn you and show you the kind of things that you need to consider. On the inside, it doesn't matter so much. If you do a full spread design like these, right, which are full spread design, then who cares if where the line follows is a bit, no. But if you're going to have color, again, you're going to have that same issue, right? If you're going to have color on one side and another, make sure, like in general, anything that we design as designers, you try to avoid the complexity of having anything end at the spine, because there's always a chance it doesn't work well. So design, that's where you're the designer. You're not just a mechanical dropper in of photos. You design it in a way that you avoid complications like when is the photo going to look good or not in the spine. Imagine this is a coffee table book, and this is a spread, and I have this beautiful photo. Let me place a photo in here. Let me place a photo. Here, place this photo. And I don't know if this is the full-size one or not, but anyway, let me place this photo in here. If I have this photo and it's going to be a coffee table book and this is the gutter, I would probably have already, let me just drop it here for a minute because I would have had already marked some gutter size, and I'm just doing like that I should avoid, right? Putting in there. But if I then put this photo to the edge right there in the gutter, and another one in here, then this is blank and you can see the whole photo. But what if I want to do a photo, this photo, and my intention for this photo was for it to be a full page element, right? So let me go to the end of this and make it be a full page element. And I'm going to put it right here. I want it to cross over. I've designed tons of books too. And I go, okay, there we go. Cool. I like it there. What do you guys think about this for the design of that cover photo? But not the cover photo, inside spread photo. I don't have any books here. I have tons of books.
Well, she's going to be on the fold.
See how books do this, right? They do that. And whereas if it's a coffee table book that people are careful of not creasing and breaking the spine, right? And this one is just text, but yeah. So you have to consider how big, not just that margin space is, right? But that fold might take up to here. So what you're gonna end up having in fact, if not in reality, it might be that all of this doesn't let me, all of this might end up being the other side visually, right? And so this is what that photo that you're seeing on this side is. And she's not, her face isn't in the gutter, that's good. But is this a nicely framed or positioned photo? It's like, You have to consider that this leaves a whole page of nothingness with her just on the top right, okay? So you're gonna have to resize or reshape that photo in a way that works, or choose another photo and put this one somewhere else, right? So maybe I'm gonna reshape that photo, oops. So that whatever's left in here, you see her whole thing, or, oh, and another thing, when people are, and these are just general rules, but when people are looking in one way or another, so say that this is a photo I decide to put as an insert right here. Okay, and these are the things that I'm talking about, whatever product you're doing right now. So this is an insert. And I'm gonna put her here, right? And now let me, the green color shows you the front page. I've gone all the way to the middle of it. And here's my my insert. Well, in this way she can get away with it. I was going to show you what's wrong, but it can get away with it in this one because she's really looking inwards. So this is fine. What you don't want to put is people here looking outwards. That's the point I was trying to make. And then this photo, she doesn't. She's going in again. So in this case, it does work. So I don't do it, because when people see this photo, they're going to look at her, and then your eyes kind of follow this line and then that line. You know, that's what eyes do. They kind of leading lines. And I'm not teaching photography here today, but I'm getting you an idea. So this works. I don't have a photo of someone looking sideways, but if you were to have her, imagine if she were looking at her art, right down here, if she were actually doing her stuff, her face would be sideways. Then you're telling people, come look at my book and leave my book, right? Because leading lines make eyes follow leading lines, right? And in this case, his leading line is strong, but it kind of comes back because she's really forming a circle. Imagine that spiral. So this leading line works. But if she was looking that way, our eyes would just go whoops and we'd leave. So you'd want to put her, just flip her, right? You want to have her looking inwards, and that's all it takes. Now be careful that there's no writing or lettering or stuff that gives it away that it's flipped, right? But anyway, just little thoughts that I'm sharing with you. I'm sharing these things with you while you should be working with. Okay, so hopefully you are. I keep saying that because some people just
Well, it's a little hard to
waiting for
work.
me to tell you to start.
It's a little hard to look and pay attention and
I
work
know.
at the same time.
I hear you.
It's a
I'm gonna
little choice to make.
I hear you. But I'm gonna shut up for a little bit right now. But I just had to show you the little leading lines thing. And okay, so Linda, you have that. Anyone else who needs help with their basic template? Norma, I'm not sure. Did you find a good template for your postcard? All right. And yes, I'm going to interrupt you again to say, if everyone is set and running and doing their thing and for now needs no help from me, give me a green yes. I'll stop calling your name. I'm going to just do some stuff. And then I want you guys to share, ask me questions whenever you need. Okay.
I have a question actually.
Yep.
So in the advanced workspace, where or how can I add the alignment tools? Like I'm not seeing them on my workspace.
Oh, well, when you select, okay, let me see. If I make a
Oh, yeah.
box, let me see. If I make a box here, you're right. It's interesting. The paragraph isn't showing you I thought the properties panel would pop up, but it's not. So then the alignment would be, let me go back to essentials. Although in this essentials mode, here's my properties right now. Let me reset my essentials. This is not the real essentials. So in my properties panel, I need to see my layers. It's very hard for me without my layers. So even in essentials, I can bring up my layers at the very least. There we go. So there, I'm on the wrong. I'm going to turn that off. Okay. So I needed. So say that I have a box and a box, 2 boxes, right? And here you got the choices for alignment right there. If I move to advanced, right, and I want to align these 2, once you select them both, in the top, this is telling you, is the alignment? Oh, they used to show up right here. I have a stretch out my window. Yeah. Thing is that I have my window collapsed and so it goes small, but when you stretch out your window and make it bigger, you have the auto fit. And you're right, the alignment isn't, there it is. When you make it big, and I work with a full screen window and see how there the alignments showed up, like the control panel has them all. But when you are collapsed small, like I was showing you, then they don't show up, in which case you would probably have to go to object align. Would that be where we have the alignment? I would assume it's under object arrange. What's that?
I see it now when I use my bigger monitor, the alignment.
Yeah, but I'm trying to see because there's always a way to bring them up. Since I always use that, I don't know exactly where, but there should be a place for alignment. You could probably, here, you would go to the window object and layout and open up that one to align, and then you'd have your little extra tag here, and then you'd have your alignment. Like if you have to have a small window because you know your window is smaller, and you can't, I just usually work with my thing totally extended. Then you would bring in this one in, and then you would just tack it in there, and there you have your alignment. And then you can say, okay, align center, etc., etc. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. So whenever you're in a panel, it gives you some things and it doesn't give you others, obviously. So then whatever you don't have, you look for its corresponding panel that you'd like to have, and you add it to yours, and then it becomes your choice of panel, right? So in this case, I added the align.
Window.
Question? Okay. Norma's.
Can I share my screen? Because I don't know how to put it into words.
Yes, you can. Let me finish making this basic. Stop my share. And yeah, hi Norma. I see you joined with the other computer now. Okay, I'm going to turn this light off, by the way, that I turned on for you to see the samples, but it's killing my eyes because it was straight at me. All right, let me see what you're showing.
Okay, so my intention here is to take this picture, but have only the coffee thing in the middle.
Yeah.
So how do I make that work? Because when I move it right now, it goes into here, but I want it to stop.
Great point. This is actually when I was going to start teaching some stuff now. I was going to start showing how to work with the photos. And
I can wait.
Make that work. No, but it's good. I'll share my screen and I'll show you the stuff I need to show you. And then, but I like here what you did. You did kind of, I'm noticing that you did what I said, where you made those 2 little boxes to tell you where not to design, but you also added short, middle, front, you know, to help you remember what it is. So that's perfect. Let me stop and share mine. So Norma, are you have you decided you're working on your postcard or what panel?
I might change to the brochure because I found very horrible templates. Or I had to make my own. I don't know.
Well, if you want to do a postcard, I can send you the one I found. I mean, one of these was a postcard one. I don't remember which, and it was bad. But your choice. But yeah, okay. So here's the brochure. Let me turn off all these.
Could you send me the postcard just to?
Actually, in fact, I think in Bridge, in the digital techniques class, I think I already had, because last time we all did a postcard. So isn't there already something there, or did I might have gotten rid of it because I thought I'd start from scratch, but if not, I have this one. So this is the back side of the postcard, right? The front side would be just empty. You do whatever you want. But this would be the information for that. So let me email this one to you. And then I'll go and help with, actually more than emailing, I just picked it up from the website. You can download it. Well, I'll just email it to you. It's easier. Okay, let me go find it. What's the name of it? Mailing. CDEF. There it is. Okay. So. Yeah. I'm opening my. I'll send it to your pipeline account, okay?
Okay, thank you.
But this is a PDF. This isn't one that is already ready to be open. So what I'm going to do, go ahead and grab it. And once you have it, I will share with you how to turn this PDF into a template, okay? And that's good for everyone else because you won't always find a perfect template. Okay, now let me share the screen so that I can.
Okay, thank you.
So that I can do what Monica asked, which by the way, is something that's for everyone. So I might ask everyone to pay a bit of attention. So I'm going to go ahead and import. Oh, I need Illustrator again. I don't know. I don't need Illustrator open anymore. I'm in InDesign. Let me go. I'm going to create a new.
Did you send the email you said?
Yeah. It might not go instantly.
Okay,
Yeah.
takes wow. Okay, let's try again.
Yeah. So so here's the thing, right? We have maybe I will go do it and this one that you're using. Yeah. So I'm going to go over here in the layers and turn the template off. And here I'm going to actually create a new. So I don't have all that stuff in there, but I'm going to have my guides. Okay. So this is if you want to bring in a photo. So let's go ahead and there's two ways to bring in a photo. Maybe everyone pay attention a little bit, because if you have an existing template, like the kind you'll get in Canva or something like that, you'll just have a place created to drop in a photo. And this is an example of a template in InDesign where you will just have a frame. This is a frame. Above the rectangle, there's a frame tool. And you'll have a frame set up like that. And you'll have a frame over here. And that's supposed to be text. And then this one over here, that's supposed to be a photo. And then, I don't know, this one over here, that's supposed to be text. And the other one's supposed to be a photo. Say that this is a template, right? So you just have the frames. And maybe this is what you do. You set yourself up with a template. So what if your photo that you're going to put in here doesn't like work, right? Or in the case of the photo that Monica's trying to bring in, it's a bit more vertical. So she's trying to bring in this photo. And is it this one that you're trying to bring
No,
in?
it was
The coffee one, this one,
the other one, yeah.
the top one there. So if you notice, it's pretty tall and thin, right? Which you might think might work well for a brochure. But what if you want it to be this way or that way or this? You know, there's other shapes that you might want it to be. In fact, I'm going to make this one be a little bit flatter and a little bit longer. So if that's where your photo has to fit, none of these are actually right for that photo. So let me actually show you. And then plan B, I'm going to do it in here, is you place it yourself. So I'm going to go first and place it myself. I'm going to go to a file place. And I'm going to find the photo. There it is. And I'm going to open. So if you either have boxes to bring it into, which you made yourself, because you know that you want the text here and the photo there, or someone made because you bought it that way. If you can bring it wherever you want, you click and you drag, right? And you make it the size you want. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag and say that I wanted it to be that way. And I wanted it to fill the bottom, but I can't because see it proportionally, it's not going to work for that thin thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my box be as big as it needs to be. And I'm going to put it in the bleed, right? So it's going to be all the way in the bleed and make it as big as it needs to be. Drop it. But then, and this is what was happening to Monica. If you grab that box and make it fit, you're not getting the photo that you want. Does that make sense? So, because this is what you wanted, but this is the size the brochure gives you because it's a format that's pretty hard. So there's two things. If you're at freedom to choose a different design where you can actually, I'm going to hold it from the corner, you guys, and I'm going to hold, before I hold it, I'm going to hold down the shift and the command, which is actually shift and alt if you are on a PC. I hold shift and command, and then I'm going to grab the corner of this and I'm resizing the frame at the same time as the photo. So then I have my entire photo, but that's as big as it's going to get, right? Because I can't make it fit the whole side that I wanted if I want to see the beans on the floor, the whole shebang. So that's one option. I'm going to go ahead and leave that there as a possibility. I'm going to copy and paste and say, well, what if, but the other option, when it was as big as it could be, which was, I believe, got it up to there, then I move the frame only. And so now I'm left with a bigger photo, the right size for the middle of my brochure, but not showing everything. So that's when either use the grabber. I don't like the grabber. I use the white area tool, but for ease sake, I'm going to use the grabber. And the grabber allows me to move only the content, right? So then I don't change my frame and I find in my photo the best possible position. Even if I wanted to make it up taller, I can't because there's no photo there. But if I put, as long as I have enough photo for my bleed top to bottom, I can do that. So I'm going to make it, oh, it looks like I moved this frame. So now, as long as I have, you know, the best possible, remember to have from the grabber, I'm going to have like my whole pot in there. And as much as I can of the beans and that, and then that worked. I don't see the whole photo, but I made it fit my brochure. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So to resize a photo, this is the part that I want everyone to listen one more time. Bring in any photo, even if you don't have a photo that you're yet working on. There's my, I'll give you guys a break. Bring in any photo. Okay, so I want you guys to bring in a photo and place it anywhere. And now I want to show everyone how to make resize frame and photo. So is everyone paying attention? if I grab my black arrow key tool and I resize right now, all I'm resizing is the frame, which if it's bigger, it doesn't matter so much, but if it's smaller, it crops into the photo, right? So the frame is one thing. And then the content is another, which this grabber wants you to grab the content to move it around and see how it's moving inside the frame until I move it out of the frame. Okay, so that's the grabber. Now, the reason I like more than to use the grabber a bit more is I don't like the grabber so much. I like grabbing the white area key instead. And when I do that, see how the grabber disappeared? And then I can move it with that. And that also allows me to still manipulate the object and stuff like that. Whatever. For now, let's say that we want to keep it simple and use the grabber and never change. Then when you have the black arrow key, the content get moves that way. Well, fine. But none of this is the solution to what if I wanted to make this bigger or smaller, because with the grabber, I can't make this any bigger. So I still have to go over here and make it bigger or smaller. So the solution to all of this, I'm going to undo. There we go. This is the original one. The solution to this is to move both frame and content at the same time. And that you do by first holding down Shift and Command, then you grab your corner and you make both parts. It basically looks like you're making the photo smaller, but you're also bringing in the frame because the content is the photo and the frame is the piece, and you move it and make it as big as you want or as small as you want. Now you have to be careful always that when you make it really, really big, because maybe you just wanted only this. What if all you wanted in your photo to show, maybe you had I'm going to make a small frame. Maybe you wanted a square frame. Now I'm back to holding only the frame. You want to find what you wanted to see only that center. So your frame is this big. This is where your photo has to be. You need to need a center bigger. So you hold it from the contact grabber or from the A, and that extra line is showing you the bounds of the photo, right? So I'm going to actually make my thing a little bit bigger so you guys can see what's happening. So I'm going to grab this, holding on to Shift to make it be similar, and I'm making just the content bigger now, right? And I need to make it even bigger because I'm hoping, so I'm just making the content bigger because sometimes you want content bigger, but the frame to stay the same, right? So I'm working on the outlines of the content, but the frame is that one. The frame is that square. And I'm making it a bit bigger and a bit bigger until I finally get to the place where that's what I wanted. And this photo, in no way, it started by being just the whole thing. There you go. And now I'm happy, right? So I managed to focus a piece of it, the whole thing, or just a bit of it. By moving independently the frame and the content. See, the content is this now, and the frame is this. Now it's green because I'm in the green layer and this layer, the pink layer. Normally when we used to do this here, it's red. The content, these things shows up in the complementary colors. So since I'm in the pink frame, that's giving me a green. It doesn't matter. Just know that this outside thing is always going to be the content. And if you're in doubt, when you move it around, you'll see it moving around together with your content. Okay, so that's the content. And this is the frame that you got with the black arrow tool. What I wanted to say is now we have this photo in here 3 times. I need to go into the links, and everyone pay attention to this one now because this is for everyone. If you bring in a photo as many times as you want and you stretch it like I did to this one a lot in order to see only this little box, I need to go to the links. I need to put my my hand on that. So this beans photo was linked in here 3 times. I'm going to expand, and these are my 3 options for that link. This one is on the paste board. There it is in the gray area. This one is in page 2, and this one is in page 1, right? And so what I wanted to do is check out my page 2 one, and then I go to the metadata, and I make sure that it's still printable and I stretch it so much, what do we think? Is it still printable?
No.
Not printable. Okay. So as much as I showed you how to do it, that doesn't mean that that turns into a printable photo. Okay. Versus maybe this one, which is the one on the pasteboard, effective PPI is 208. Now, I don't want you to worry too much about effective PPI with these photos because these are sample photos that are low resolution. So they come in as 72 already. So if you're trying to make a big brochure, you might find that they're not effectively printable. It's just a sample, but that's okay. But I do want you to know to check and to see that even in the best case scenario, if this had been bigger, it would be hard pressed to take only one little bit of it and make it really big and hope that it would print as well. And for that, you definitely need to look at the effective PPI. Definitely, if not, you're in trouble. So don't forget to go to anything you bring in, go to the links and check them out to see if they truly work. Okay. Like, that's the end for everyone's, the class for everyone.
So I have a question about bringing in the pictures. So my idea was to bring in a full picture for the front cover. Wouldn't it be the easiest to just make a frame and then bring in the picture
Yeah. Oh, so
instead
I
of
was,
just placing the picture?
yeah, exactly. So that's why I was showing. I thank you for reminding me. I began to show this, but I didn't show the other samples. So here I was free flying. But what if you know what you want? And so, yeah, instead you would grab this and you would pre-make your frame. If it's not going to be bleed, you go in there. If it's going to be bleed, you pre-make you pre-make your frame to be as big as you want. And remember, if this is the fold and you're not going to follow through with the picture, you might want to make this frame just a teensy tad bigger, like minimal, so that the fold later will, because this is going to be the outside. This is the back right now, just so we know that this is the back. This is your back. So you make this frame a teensy tad bigger, right? And then you go and you place the photo into there. But watch, when you place the photo into here, into a pre-made, this is, thank you for saying that. Guys, pay attention because this is something I need to teach everyone. I got distracted into how to resize the photo and I forgot. When you first decide this is where the photo goes, period. I need a photo in here, period. You make the frame first. When you go place it, I'm going to go place that same photo. Here it comes. And I say open. It comes in at whatever size it can come in. This is a bit of a bad example in the sense that what came in was something smaller. So you don't see it as a bad choice. Let me just really quickly show you a plan. So here you would have to resize. Like this photo is telling you, nope, I'm not as big as that. So what it says is, I can't be your cover photo, or you're going to have to upsize me, which means you're going to lose quality, right? So if this is what happens to you, you need to go into Photoshop and resize it there correctly so that it spans this whole size correctly. And when you bring it in, it fits in that size. But sometimes when you bring something in like this, if you can't, you can just tell it to fit itself, right? So I'm going to make this bigger again to show you the fitting tools. And fitting tools, I need to make this bigger and bigger and bigger. Here are all the fitting tools. Otherwise, if you don't want them there, you can go and go to window. I guess it would be, what window would show it to you? I don't know what I would end up doing. Otherwise, it's just going into object fitting right there. And these are the same as these icons. If you don't see these icons there for auto fit, it's this under object fitting. But I'm trying to see if there'd be a window or object in there. Or maybe it's under the align. No, the fitting isn't here. I guess you're just gonna have to go up here if you don't, if not, if you don't see these, if you don't see those choices. Okay, so I'm gonna grab this photo and I want to say, well, I want to fit it into the frame, right? So when you hover over this one, it'll say fill frame proportionally. That's what it's already, see, you do that. And it went in and it became as good as it could to fill that frame. You know, though, that if the photo originally couldn't make it, that by doing this, you are making the PPI be even lower. So if this was actually at its limit, you already have it at 240 and you can't go any bigger, and you do this, now you've basically made that be a resolution of maybe 200. So if it's your cover photo, it's like, eh. So maybe you have to go into Photoshop and put it through the paces to, I think we did that. I'm not sure if we did it with this class, but for sure in the Photoshop class where you go through the camera raw and duplicate the amount of pixels, like you have to make it have more pixels so that this would still be a good photo to make bigger. The other fitting option here is fit the content proportionally. So if you do that, it's because you want to see all your content. To see all your content, you leave a whole bunch of blank stuff, right? If you say fit to frame, it'll make sure that one of the edges fits the frame, which is the one we did, so you don't see some photo, right? And then you can still move it around and choose which part of it you want to see. But you know that when you first brought it in, it couldn't be that big, so you know that it's being used wrongly. And then the ones that you should be very careful using is fit content to frame. Very careful with that one, because look, the whole content gets to fill the frame. And in this case, it might or not be obvious that it's stretched, but if this is a person and you do that, it's like, whoop, you know, it's really wrong. So you have to be careful when you stretch that if you have a certain thing that should be a circle, is going to look weird. For some photos, you can get away with it. Like, you know, maybe you can get away with it. With this one, if you don't really know what it looks like, but that would stretch it. And the other one, you don't want in this case, which is fit frame to content. Boom. So now the frame goes down and it shows you the entire thing. So those are all the different options of what you can fit it with. Now, what's that? Somebody say something? Now, this one, which is content aware fit, right there, is the most interesting one. And this is new. Let me just undo that again. This is new to InDesign. And it's artificial intelligence, and it's something that Photoshop is doing a ton of now. And this is one of the tools in which InDesign brought content aware. And it's the fact that this is what you want, this is what you want, and this is the photo you have. I can't do it better. And so you press this button and artificial intelligence calculates it, thinks about the stuff, goes, well, if this is better, da, 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 and it gives you its answer. And in this case, it expanded it. It did whatever it did, but it left the photo not looking deformed. To really show you what that is like, this photo has been deformed, but in a way that it doesn't look deformed. And I show that a lot in Photoshop. You have content aware scale where it looks for empty spaces and it scrunches more the empty spaces and it scrunches less the shape so that the shape still stays good, but the sky maybe got thinner or lighter, so that it reformats your photo thus that it fits the right shape as best as it can. And there's 3 houses and you need it to be fit into this thin thing. It'll take away the space in between the houses, but the houses won't be deformed, right? And they all fit. So that's content aware fit. And that's the InDesign version of content aware fit. Okay, so you might always want to try that. And then check on the link to make sure that maybe the effective PPI is still working. As I said, in this case, it doesn't work because these photos are already not print ready. But you can check the content that before. This was the before. Let me go ahead and do, this is the original photo. Effective PPI 144. When I do content aware fit, it thinks, and it gives me something that's 130. So basically, it did change. It went from a bit better to a little bit worse, like the photo didn't get stretched and all of that, but it got a bit worse here at effective PPI. So you might need to go with this photo, still end up going back to Photoshop to print it, not for this example, we don't need it. But you would go to right size it again in Photoshop and then bring it in with more pixels, okay? What you don't want to do in InDesign, and this is last thing before I give us all a break. What you don't want to do in InDesign is say, well, I want the photo big anyway, like I did here, and make it big anyway, and hope that InDesign, so I'm going to go ahead and make this be this big, which you can't see all of it because it's outside of the pasteboard. I can make it be this big, and it would be so cool to have, you know, a little portion of that in my brochure. But you're making InDesign do the work of Photoshop. You're making InDesign do the whole sampling, resampling, and the engines that InDesign has to do that are not as good, nowhere near as good as the ones that Photoshop have. So if you're going to do any resizing, resampling, you're going to do that in Photoshop, and then and bring in that ready to go photo in here to get the best quality. It'll do a different job, and the job that it'll do is not as good. Okay. Unless there's any other burning questions, let's take our break. Any questions, you guys? No. Okay. 11:47. I left it pretty late, so we're basically going to have it until 12:02. This class finishes at, yikes.
One, right?
At
Or
1.
12 Oh, never mind. No, 12:20.
This one is 12:20. 12:20. So, guys, let's just do 15 minutes. Says that 12. Let's do it. Let's do until 12, which is a bit less than 15 minutes. Be back by 12. Okay. See you guys at 12. Oh. Hi, guys. Took an extra minute because actually I haven't left the computer, but I got caught with, interestingly enough, a question that after I left, I was looking at questions you guys had, and there was this question that Christina asked of how would you blend text into something. And so I was kind of playing around with that. And I wanted to show you something. So I'm going to show it to you anyway, but I didn't notice that it was time. So let me,
Can you also maybe show us before class is over, just really quickly, gradients, like a quick overview? Because it confuses me to no end. The
okay,
gradient.
sounds good.
Thank you.
I'm going to share screen. So basically the answer that maybe you didn't want is, well, the question. Let me first tell you what the question was, because Christina asked a question that made me work through the break and having a bit of fun. Because, you know, I think some of the stuff is funny. But Christina, are you there? Show me signs of life, everyone, if you're back. Because I
I'm
don't
here.
wanna-
Yeah.
Okay, good. Everyone, tell me a little check mark if you're here. Her question was, what's the best way to make text looks like it is painted on a road? And it so happens that I have an image that I was playing around with in Photoshop the other day. I was working on some new perspective warp and stuff like that. I'm kind of hiding the top. Well, I don't need to hide. I'm hiding the top because there's this, or educational purposes only, because it's a sample photo, and that's why I'm kind of going to hide it a little bit. But let me just tell you that this is a logo, and the idea is, how do you make it look like it belongs? And after a bunch of stuff, this got done. And this is Photoshop, right? So it went from this to that. So you make it look like it's blended. And so I applied, without the perspective warp, I did that. I wrote text blended, which is what you asked. And then I slowly applied the different steps. First I did the warp, and then I blended it into the background. And by the time you're done, there you go. You have it like it's kind of part of that background. So this is impossible to do in anything other than Photoshop. Okay. You can't get blend, and like it looks as if there's, you know, texture coming through the letters like it's really in there. You have to do that in Photoshop. But then you go ahead and bring that in to InDesign, right? And have your cover, that be your material. So I'm not going to be able to teach you that here, but maybe we can find a plan B. There are some things you can do, some effects you can do. And let me go up further. And I believe one of you guys had talked about effects that you used. Was it in this class, or am I wrong? Someone mentioned the effects. No, was
I
it in
think
the other-
that was yesterday's class.
that was yesterday's class that asked about effects. Okay, then I'm like, wait, someone just said that. And my brain, it's in the Illustrator class. Okay, so look at that. Nice. This is Cheyenne's. Very cute. She shared with her site and other stuff. So this is putting her logo already into practice, the stuff that she did here. And in this case, she's got like the flower coming over a little bit, the and the S is behind, and you know, so she's working a little bit with that whole thing. I would say, as a mini thing, is that this little extra bit there and that little extra there bug me. Like if you move things around a tad so that you don't have little tiny thingies, like
yeah.
the rest is good. But see, when these little thingies happen, it becomes like a problem, right? So maybe it makes sense if it's not even there, because who knows, the flower finished there, or you just move the flower over a little bit so that both of these two are hiding under that, and then that would work. Okay, this is why I like you guys to show me stuff, because yay, should just think of it, and it's almost great, and then I'll see something, then I'll give you a tip, and hey, go for it, make it
Also,
better.
like, that's why I'm wondering about the gradients too, because like the different colors that I'm playing with, like I just don't know how to blend. Like every time I do a gradient, it's always black and white, and I don't know how to work it.
Okay. Now I showed gradients in Illustrator. Did I not show it here in Digital Design Techniques? Wait, but you're in my Illustrator class, Shannon, right? Oh, maybe you missed that day.
I should have at this point, but maybe next time I will.
Okay. Oh, some of you guys are in so many of my classes that I begin to like, I don't know where you are. So in this class, I didn't teach gradients, huh? Okay, so I'm looking at the time. Not gonna show gradients right now. I'm gonna go back 1 second to here. I do want to show where you can have some effects of some kind or another, which let me show you the kind of effects you can have. I'm going to put in some text in here, text here. So I'm making this be some text. Let me actually go back to my type tool and make it much bigger. So there's text here. Let's make it even bigger. And this is a photo, right? And actually, let me bring this a little bit smaller so you can see the effects. So what kind of effects can I do in it? As I said, if you really want to do good effects, you really need to go into Photoshop for anything photography. But here we have a choice at the top that says effects. And if you're not in the advanced, if you're in the essentials, do they show you the effects that are possible? If I set import with, reveal and find array, it doesn't seem to give you effects off the top of your head. Then can you go to window and bring up effects? There it is. You can bring up a window for effects then. Okay. If in the essentials they're not there, you bring it up in a window. All right. So I'm going to go back to the advanced and show it to you from here. There's not that much, but if you go in here, you have transparency, drop shadow, inner shadow, outer glow, inner glow. So inner shadow for a photo, you know, it wouldn't work. There's no inner, but maybe it would work for this. So let's try. I'm going to go ahead and start with transparency. And what happens is a whole thing comes up, right? It doesn't like come one by one. So you can make a choice. So in this photo, I might want to add a drop shadow. So I go into drop shadow here. I click on my drop shadow. And I want to make sure that did I have the photo selected? No, I didn't. Okay, I need to have the photo selected. And I go into my effects. And then here, I'm going to choose to put drop shadow on this one. And then I can preview. So then I can choose where I want the drop shadow to be and how big I want it to be and how much of a drop shadow I want. I want it to be very spread or not, that kind of thing, right? So I can do that kind of thing. I can make it be, I never recommend having a shadow be black. It should be probably a color that's, and you can do this much better again in Photoshop, but a color that's one of the colors that in an image. Maybe I can go with soft lights. I'll leave it in multiply. So you play around with these kind of things. You say you want the shadow at the top and bottom. Most of the time you want the top and bottom. I like when you have a small shadow, but that has a good spread. Where's the spread? You can make it have a little bit of noise, so it looks a bit more shadowy, but we're doing it in vector, so it's not as good. And I'm going to bring the opacity down a bit. So I'm going to actually take this off. Like, okay, so here you've got a little drop shadow, and I like the opacity. I like shadows to be very gentle and nothing. I'll say okay to that. And then I have that photo with the drop shadow. Now, you can put multiple at the same time. So you might want to add a drop shadow, and I don't know, most of these won't work with a photo. I'll show them to you in text. Inner glow doesn't, you know, you're inside of a photo. Outer glow, none of, you know, inner shadow, there's no inner. Inner shadow might work a little bit. It goes in to make it look like it's popping out. But you can't do inner shadow and drop shadow at the same time because they don't make sense, right? So some of these work with photos, some of them don't. I'm going to leave the inner shadow only, but now let's go to text, because in text it's going to work better, or in text that's turned into outlines. And now when I do the photos, the shot, now I can do, for example, the inner shadow. Really, does it need to be? Do I need to be in my type tool? Into the basic drop shadow. Oh, the drop shadow works. Okay. Let me turn off drop shadow because I already showed you that. Inner shadow. It's not gonna work. Outer glow. Well, if we had a background here of a color, you would see, right now we're against white, you would see like a little shade happening on the outside when you do the outer glow. But I don't have a color, so let me put a color behind it. Anyway, it works. They're not very impressive. What I'm trying to say, you have some effects you can do, but it's not necessarily that you can be really, really creative like you can in, say, Photoshop. Here you go. Layers. Let me throw this rectangle to the bottom. So now if I try to do some effects on this text, that's a pretty intense background I gave it, but you might see a bit more of the outer glow. See, and you can see a little bit of an outer glow there. I'm gonna make it less opaque. That's an outer glow. Whereas when we had white behind it, you couldn't see it. An inner glow. So then the glow is going internally, and it's such a, if you had a big fat text, that might work. These are more interesting. Bevel and emboss. So the text looks like it's a little bit beveled. It looks beveled. Satin, didn't do anything to this one here. Basic feather. Oh, this is so thin that the feather is too big. Yeah, it's not gonna work. This is very thin font, so the feather isn't gonna work for this one. If you have fat font, it'll work. So the feathers won't work here. Gradient feather, you're basically, feathering the text in and out, which if it was, okay. So anyway, lots of little fun things that you can do, but not humongously exciting, to say the truth. Most, if you want to get really exciting, you have to go into Photoshop. And there it is. That's the effects panel. And if you want more, you would go to the window and open up the effects. And here you would have a little bit more control over what the effects, like object effects and isolated and kind of stuff like that you wanted to do. All right. I had another question that I was about to answer. Someone else, I said, give it a minute. Or Cheyenne, you say something. I see that Monica has a question, Moni, but someone spoke up about something.
Just the gradients, maybe.
Oh, gradients. Yeah, so gradients, again, I think, yeah, because I showed them in Illustrator. That's why now I'm thinking I showed them in Illustrator, because that's the place where usually I'm thinking of designing and stuff. And then if you want to do a box in the top of your, the box in the top of your, your brochure, maybe you want that box, take these things out. Maybe what you want is for that box to be across the whole top, right? And if you fill it right now with a color, and again, I'm going to just these basic colors, maybe it's just red. It's like, maybe you want it to be a gradient where it starts red, but it ends up being white so that it blends into the brochure, the whole top. So how would you do that? Okay, so here we have the gradient tool, right? So if I click on this tool and click and drag, I'm creating a gradient, right? So watch again, I'm creating a gradient. So this works as far as a gradient is concerned. Let me just make it a little bit shorter for what I just said, but so maybe I'll just pull till there. Yeah. Maybe I'll go longer. Okay, so that's a softer kind of gradient. Maybe not, because I'll do like that. I want it to gently blade. Gently. Let me just do it normal. This is such a small box that it doesn't really give me a very good gradient. But anyway, so there's a gradient, right? So imagine that when this is over, that's going to print like that. This is going to look good. Which can't show you. So how do you make this gradient be the gradient that you want it to be? You want your own colors. So over here in the gradient panel, you have the gradient that I just did, just black and white, the default one that comes out, and choose some colors for it. So I'm going to go over here and double click on this color. So And it's changing here. Let's start it with a blue. And if I want it to end with a white, that's good. But maybe I want my white not only to be white, but I also want it to be transparent. In Illustrator, you can do a much better gradient, which by the way, then you can bring in to here with a, like you have many more tools. I'm noticing how limited this is. I'm trying to make this color be transparent, but in here, it looks like I'm not allowed to have a transparent. It just goes to white. In Illustrator, you would be able to have this one go no opacity. And then when you bring it in here, it does a much better job of grading. But there you go, that's one. And I don't think, can you put in other tones? Yeah, you can. So say you want this to go from, you click somewhere in the middle and it gives you a new one. So then you go over here and you say the new color, and this is going to clash, but you give it another color. So then your gradient is going through blue and green and whatever it might need to go. And then when I don't want that, you pull it out and it's gone. Okay. And if you want the you know, to be radial or something else, you change that there. So it's not a very optimal tool. The same gradient panel in Illustrator is crazy. You can do 10 different colors blending in and out of each other, you know, because this is a layout place. It's not a design site. So I'm glad you asked the question to show you how there are some things we can do. Effects, okay, a little bit underwhelming, but they're there. How about gradients? You can make a little gradient. Yeah, you can, but maybe it's not the best place to do it. It's better to bring it in as an illustration, where in Illustrator, I can do whatever I want to my gradient. Pause is done. Yeah, so let me make a box in here, actually. Let me. Illustrate. I was using the tools for InDesign because I have them on top of the other one. That's confusing me. Okay, so I'm going to make this thing and I'm going to put a gradient in it from red. I need to first have a fill on this thing. Oh, because it's a template, that's why. Okay, let me just say new really quickly. I'm going to make a little box here that I want to make a gradient in it. And go over here and like start with this basic gradient that comes with it. Well, guess what? I can edit those gradients. I can do so much more fun stuff. And so here I have choices of all kinds. So I can go over here and using all these colors, or I'm going to just change this color to be like green. I know I'm not saying that these colors match, but just so you see how you can put all kinds of colors, all kinds of red in there. Then I can move it and I say I want this much green or that much red, or, you know, get rid of this one and start being more careful with how you grade this little diamond there. Shows you where the transition is going to take place. Red and green are looking horrible together because I can do that weird thing there. But the good news is I can also make it be radial. And this is the one that's fun when you're trying to be artistic, which is the freeform gradient where so I'm going to have a color here and I'm going to tell that one to be green. And then I'm going to have a color here and I'm going to tell it to be blue. And then a color over here and I'm going to tell it to be like maybe more like a cornflower blue. And then this one, and these are just the existing points, okay? I'm going to have it be more like a deeper, oh, that was about the same green, right? And then I'm going to move them around and I can have, you know, the blue coming over here. I can add other tones, another spot here where I'm going to put, I'm just showing you this really quickly, where I'm going to put yellow, right? So you can play around until it truly is, you know, a delight of stuff that you can do. That said, one thing I'm not even doing here is these colors can also be made to be transparent. So this whole thing grades out into transparency. So if this is a gradient that goes to transparency, that's an example where this isn't just going to white, rather it's going to transparent, see?
Mm.
So that
That's nice.
is a much smoother transition than that we got there in InDesign, because that one just gradated to white, which is kind of harsh, versus this one gradates to transparent. Okay,
Cool.
so just play around with this kind of stuff in Illustrator, and then that you turn into the thing that you bring in to your InDesign. So this is a placed file, and it gives you a really nice gradient, and so I'm trying to do it here. But if you just want a little quick and dirty gradient, yeah, InDesign can do it. Remember, this is a place where you have vector tools. You could create a logo here, but you'll be limited. Go ahead and create it in Illustrator and just bring it in here. That's the way to do it. All right. Don't want to stay a bit longer to answer questions, but if you guys need to go, that's good. Oh, thank you. Norma sent me a little happy Mother's Day. So anyone here who's a mother, happy Mother's Day this weekend. And I don't know, so I'm just throwing it out. Some people are just, you know, if you've got a little doggy, you're still some kind of a mom or a cat. All right, Moni.
Yes. Did you have a question?
Your hand was up.
No, I just have a check.
Oh, you have a yes. Oh, for some reason I saw it as a, you're like, yes, what do you
I'll
need?
take it out. Sorry.
All right, no, that's fine. Any, that was, you know, the questions that you guys asked are great to show me to move into to the designs you're making. What I'd like you to do right now, and there's no request for it to be perfect or done or even halfway, you know, started. Do a screenshot of wherever you're at and post it, okay? I wanna see your Padlets. I wanna see what you got out of today. Mainly because I usually direct this project and people kind of follow me and you end up with a project. I wanna see how useful this was, whether you're gonna end up with anything today or not, you know? Because again, I make decisions on how I teach things and I wanna see whether this was completely ineffective or if this was a good idea. So please post wherever you're at right now. I beg you, as a purposeful, this is what I got out of today. Even if you then keep working on make it better during the week, you post your process. But I want to have an idea of what you're working on right now. So over here, I'm seeing that Saul is posting. He's making a postcard. I have it here. Her name as well. There you go. You're going to give it to her. It's Mother's Day. I should have done that. I should have said we all have to make a Mother's Day something. How appropriate. When it's Halloween, I remember, but I forgot to do that. I'm not present that it's Mother's Day.
It's because you're a mother.
I'm a mother, and also, and when I think of Mother's Day, I think of my mother. And in Argentina, Mother's Day is in October. And I forget, wait, I'm a mom. Right? And
I would
no
need a
so
printer.
anyway, what's that?
I would need a printer if I was going to make a card or something.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
that's great. So I'm glad so we made that. So okay, did anyone post anything yet? I just want to see where you're at, and then if you have to go, you have to go. But nope, nobody's yet posting stuff. Come on, post some stuff. Everyone in the meeting, and then I really, even if what you post is, well, that's not what I tried to post. I tried to post the Padlet link again. There's no good or right or wrong. It's just, here's Monica. It's just where you're starting. And this is her trifold brochure. I remember this is cool because she did the postcard last time. And I remember I really liked your logo, and you had made a bean, right? Or something like that. So this is great. Now you're going to figure out how to transform that into a trifold brochure. And remember this photo that I said can't be stretched anymore? Well, there you go, creativity. Let's make that work by putting the name right in that space where the photo wasn't going to stretch. So yay, good job. And it seems like you put the inner glow on this photo right there. But if so, the effect is going to be, it's in the bleed, right? So if you want more of an inner glow, you might want to stretch it out or spread it. Okay. Anyone else? All right. If you can during the week, oh, here's someone else putting Christina. Yeah, we are MTD, we are bus operators, join our team. And here's a series of photos, and you're doing this each each one of these is different placement, or did you have a collage already, just to know? Just to know.
I worked on the collage in Canva and then exported it.
Okay,
It's a file that I can replace. And then the road and the photos and stuff are separate layers.
okay. And then this kind of pasted or tape or something like that, or did paper with a tape, where did that come from?
It's all objects that I put together. So
Okay, but in InDesign is what I'm saying, or in Canva.
I did that in Canva so that because it's
Yeah.
easier to change than exporting each thing individually.
Yeah.
So it's easier for me to just paste and replace the whole photo if I need to make changes for that. So
That's good. Now, for those of you who know, Canva is web-based, free if you use it in the free mode, paid if you know a company is paying for it, that's good. Where you get to do layouts of stuff and pretty much easier, right? If you want, than in InDesign.
yeah.
Then you get to the place where you're limited by that's all they can do. And if what they can do is what you want, that's perfect. But if you want more or different, then you're limited to that. I'm fine that you did this there. My request would be try to use the Adobe, not because then it's true, this might be easier to do there in the future. Try to imagine what it would have taken to bring in these photos in here and throw them, because until you try, I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing this way, because that might be professional that you're going to keep doing, and that's good. But give it a try at seeing what the limits or the possibilities are of using a different application while you're in class, because for work, you're still going to do what you know, right? But the more you try the new program, the more you'll see then when it can do something beyond what you can do in Canva, which is a ton.
Does Adobe have like photo frames like that to give them a stylized look? Because the actual frames on the photos, that's an object that you can use in Canva, and I'm not sure where to find that in Adobe.
Yes and no. Adobe, you would do this in Photoshop. You would just make a little frame in Photoshop. You can do that, but you would have to kind of A, do it yourself one by one, or B, there's Adobe Express, and C, let me see if I pull up Adobe has now. Photoshop is more and more incorporating a lot of those things for people to do them. So there's a, I'm trying to remember
for
where
me
it
to do
is.
that from scratch with as many things as I have to do at my job, it's just time consuming. Like if
I
I
hear
had
that.
time, yeah.
Let me look and see. There's a place, and I don't use it much, so I'm trying to see. I'm doing the search and nothing is coming up. I think I'm pushing it by sharing so many things. I'm trying to find the quick actions. Hold on. Quick. Is it quick actions? No. There's I can't. I'll put it up next time. I haven't used it in a while, but Photoshop has a whole set of tools similar to their filters where you can do stuff, but it's like some set things that you just apply to your photo, and it does things like that. You know, it'll just like remove the background, boom, remove this, add this, put in a frame, add that, and it's inside of Photoshop. But you might also want to consider that if you want to begin to use the good stuff of Photoshop plus the easy stuff of Photoshop, you might consider Adobe Express. Adobe Express is equivalent to Canva. Good news, though, if you're still using all of these Photoshop Adobe projects, is that anything you do in Adobe Express, like you create a whole set of colors for your thing, well, you put it in the library, you can then pick that up in Illustrator or in InDesign, right? So you can find ways to combine things versus just having to import and being stuck. For better or for worse, now in InDesign, where was I? This here is untouchable inside of Adobe. If you need to make any change, you go out to Canva and you change it and come back, versus if this had been done, say, inside of one of the Adobes, you could say, well, I like that, but I want that paper to blend it a bit better, or to be blue, or to have this look more like a team. Let me just say that this is supposed to look like road. To me, it looks like it doesn't look like road. Does it look like road? Is this something that Canva gave you as road?
Yeah, it is actually a road. It's I can, yeah.
'Cause it
has-
looks kind of like the texture of what you put inside of a garage. I don't think roads have that texture. I mean, and maybe I'm just wrong, but
It's
Um,
well, one we've used for a lot of our stuff.
that's fine.
Yeah, I would probably just adjust the photo because that's why I exported it as 2 separate files
As different parts to adjust.
so that I can
I'm
move
just-
the road up
It
and
looked
down.
to me like what wasn't is internal, and you're gluing onto, you know, cubicles that have that gray paint. I thought it was like photos taped onto the sidewalk of a cubicle. That was my first impression of it. But then these lines don't make sense if that's what it is, right? And so that's what makes me think it's a road. So, and don't get me wrong, for me, the message was confused because of having tape. You couldn't tape onto a road, right? So it's just a thought. I'm not, I told you, show me whatever you have. I'm not trying to be critical. I was trying to understand where this had come from, and it's from Canva, and what's good or what's not and what's limited. But yeah, in Canva, if you were to have this text, could you blend that into a road? Would Canva do that? I don't think so. but I don't
No,
know.
and that's the thing is that there's limits and stuff. So like I'd
Yeah.
want it to look like it was written on a road. It's this idea, it's an idea of it being like a scrapbook with our bus drivers, but
Yeah.
the road is because they actually drive on the bus. Because we've
Yeah.
got this is something we started for our spotlight, and I wanted to carry it through to the
Mhm.
ads.
That's great. Let's see. I've used Canva, but for a lot of its basic surfaces. And so I don't know, maybe Canva now can blend into the road. That's what I was asking you. In the Adobe stuff, you can't blend in InDesign. You would have to do it in Photoshop. right?
Canva's
So-
got a lot of different blending, but that's just one effect. I don't.
All right, cool. Well, there you go, guys. Play around with Canva. In the compelling content class that I'm teaching, I'm going to show everyone next week how to use Canva and Adobe Express, because they are, you know, they do things that maybe would take a lot of understanding. I mean, I know Photoshop, Illustrator, and Design deeply, and I can do the same thing and go much further. But if you're a beginner, Canva just is like, as long as it does what you want, is so much quicker to do certain things that why bother, right? Like what Christina did is fine. Combine Canva and Adobe for the things that you can't do in Canva, and then use Canva to do the quick stuff, and then combine them, which is what she did here. Well, she didn't use Adobe here, but and then
I'm
maybe
always going back and forth, to be honest.
yeah,
So-
it's the best use, you know, of what's good here and what's good there. But I need to find those quick actions in Photoshop that Photoshop has that does similar things to that, to what you said here, create collages and things. And it's a feature that Photoshop has, and I haven't used them forever, so I forgot. And by the way, I know that we're way past the time, but thank you for posting. And then, oh, I think Cheyenne posted something else. That's new.
Just playing with it,
The
the colors.
let's see.
Yeah,
There
that
you go.
green
I'm not sure what changed. Did something change? These have a transparency now, right?
Yeah, and
Or
this
they didn't.
I don't know if I like it better with the black frame or not.
Mhm.
That's
Oh,
what
that frame wasn't there before, I thought. Yeah, so great. You know, I can give you opinions, but opinions are opinions. I kind of like it because it focuses it a little bit more, but maybe not so on top of the she rose. Like it's a little bit on top of it. This Sheehan Rose. Oh, Sheehan.
and it's
Your
like
name, Sheehan Rose.
Yeah.
It's interesting, Sheehan. I had to say it out loud to you to get it though. That's the S and the H. Got it. So in this case, yeah, when something's kind of pale like that, it goes away. 2 solutions to that. You could create a gradient where this slowly gradates from this to that color up there. And that would give you a bit the framing without having to put a black line. Just have this go from pink to that up there, right? And you would do that and import that. That would be one solution. Or yeah, having the black line works, but I don't like it that it's like so near here and so off there. Normally when you make a line that's going to bound your things, you want to either center it, or usually it's the other way around. We might have less on top or more on the bottom, depending on your needs. But if it, in this case, I would center it, and then I would change this text because that's too near, right? So if you're going to use that, that's too near. Or move your box like 1/8 of an inch out all the way around, and then a bit higher to give a bit more space in there, and then maybe that would work better. So both work, but it's good that you're giving like focus with that thing. What I don't like, and I need to say not only don't like, but really doesn't work, is however beautiful this looks, that is very hard to read when you print it. That'll be very hard to read. And
The
for
white.
someone, the contrast between the From Istanbul Saks and this pink, that just is not enough contrast. Okay. And I think I showed it yesterday, and then I gotta go, you guys, but over here, you have this accessibility tools here. You can try, test out here what these are. So you can go to your image here and click on this pink and pick up the colors that, you know, the CMYK or the RGB, depending on your designing in it. And then this one, maybe it's white, maybe it's a light pink. I don't know. Right now, it even bleeds visually. If it's white, it kind of looks like it might even be light pink, you know, because that effect that does. Pick those two colors, go over here and put those two colors in here. And, you know, maybe I'm going to just invent them. That one is about, I don't know. And I'm totally guessing that one is about that big. And then this one is white, right? And, oh, inverted. Now see, this one is this one is nowhere near the color that you made. You made it
Yeah,
or like that, whatever. It's something like that. And then see, and here over you see big fail, fail, fail. But these are not big old fail. It's not the right color, so put in yours. But this is clearly, off the top of my head, there's no way. You really need to go quite a bit darker. And I'm gonna go quite a bit darker, 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 darker. And even however dark I go with this one, it's not darker. The contrast, it's still fail. You know, oh, and then it might be, I'm reading something here that it might be fail for 17 point and below. It's warning you that it has that. So if this were bigger than 17 point, maybe this is okay. This is a fail for 18 point and below. So I don't know if you could change your font size here, but you might want to put in the font size that, you know. Anyway, play around with that. And I showed you yesterday how to get basically Adobe Color, and then you get this. This is, you land in here, and that's the accessibility tools. Okay. More and more, we have to be really conscious of making our products accessible to all our market. People with a lot of money to travel might be oldish and need glasses, right? So, at least people who have a lot of time to travel on really high-end paid excursions, right? Which seems to be from your website the kind of job that you do.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. Sorry, not sorry. I mean, for you guys, this is 20 more minutes. It's good. It's just too much in my head to tell you all in 1 minute. So see you guys next week with more products. Come on, show me more stuff. Again, I don't care if it's good or bad. I'm sorry if what I said sounded critical to any one of you guys. I wasn't intending any kind of criticism. I just want to see what you're putting together. I want, if I say anything, it's for support. Or like fact finding, I wanted to know where Christina did that, because clearly I didn't think right now in Photoshop she had to know how to make those frames. And there you go. She's intelligently combining materials, right? So, okay. Bye, guys.
Happy Mother's Day.
Oh, that's true again. Happy Mother's Day.